Talk on a Friday. We've made it to the end of the week, and your reward is 4 hours of 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on the video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News.
Hey, we're starting the show, and we've got some breaking news even.
Do we?
We do indeed, per Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network. It's Tua time for 4 more years in Miami. 4 years, $212.4 million extension for Tua Tagovailoa. $53.1 million per year is the highest 4-year extension average value in NFL history. That is quite the qualifier. Good job by whoever Tua's agent is to make sure Mike Garafolo knew that. I'm going to guess by the time we go on the air Monday, Jordan Love will have a new contract.
Interesting. You think that was a holdup?
I think so.
Okay. Tua Tagovailoa got his bag. He's too good not to pay.
Yep.
That's where the Miami Dolphins live. They have a quarterback who's too good not to give the money to, and they have given him the money. That was really their only option because it was probably too late in the game to think about seriously trading him, and they weren't going to ride him out as a lame duck quarterback this year. This was the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, right off the rip, we'll have lots of NFL stuff to talk about today.
Rocking and rolling.
We're flying. We might have some baseball trades happen today. The stove is hot.
Oh, man, I hope so. I love the trade deadline. That is one of my favorite things every year. January 1st through December 31st on the sports calendar, MLB trade deadline day. I know that's not until next Wednesday, but still, the buildup of it. I remember one time I was on vacation with my family. This might have been, oh God, I don't even remember what year it would have been. I was probably early in high school though. And we were traveling. We got to Charleston, South Carolina. And I was like, get inside and check into the hotel right now. The deadline's just about to hit. I need to have ESPN on now. I live for this stuff. I hope we get a trade by the end of the day. Royals trade?
We could. Not out of the realm, I don't think. We've seen some movement.
Tanner Scott, you are a Kansas City Royal.
In the last 24 hours, starting to see some movement. Deadline spurring action, as always.
Randy Arozarena woke up, went to bed on a 52-51 Rays team, and woke up on a 53-51 Seattle Mariners team. Ain't that something?
And he's got to move across the country.
Yeah.
For half a game in the standings.
Jerry DiPoto is nuts, man.
I actually really like this deal for the Mariners. We'll talk a lot more about that in our sports headlines, and we'll break down all of the transactions of the day in the 5 o'clock hour. Maybe there'll be more transactions. Maybe there will be a Royals transaction. Again, deadlines spurring action. No surprise that we started to see the first domino last night was reliever A.J. Puck to Arizona. We've seen 3 other notable deals today. We could well see more, and we'll have some NFL headlines, of course. A lot going on. You know, in other industries, you've got the Friday news dump. Sometimes stuff just happens on a Friday in sports. It's not necessarily a news dump. It's just this is when stuff gets done. This is when stuff happens. So you're going to hear all about it on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. By the way, I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Wierzinski is in the studio with me. Trenton Kraxner, our summer intern, is across the glass. Our producer-engineer, Spencer Dupuis, remains on vacation. He will return next week. Lots of Royals and Chiefs content today. Royals getting set to take on the Cubs in the Brendan Dworzynski Bowl this weekend. We'll have a full breakdown from behind enemy lines from aggrieved Cubs fan Brendan Dworzynski.
We stink.
We'll take a look ahead to the series. Can he talk worse about his team than I did about mine when the Royals played them earlier this month?
Okay, you know, the answer is no, because I don't say this to be critical of the two of you. I am not going to engage in a actually, my team sucks more debate. I am not going to do it.
I mean, the standings don't lie.
I will not do it.
Me and Brendan were just having a talk down his office. It wasn't my team sucks more, but we were having a talk about how this series could play out down his office, like right before.
We were right downstairs. We're looking upstairs. We're talking baseball, and Trenton goes, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Royals lose this series. I wouldn't be surprised if they get swept in this series. It's like, I would be shocked if they got swept in this series.
I got 3 good reasons though.
You did have logic behind it.
Behind all three games that the Royals could lose. I solid logic and data from watching the games this year.
I would say, do you want to bet on it not being a sweep? But that is like the saddest bet possible. So I don't know that I want to do that.
All I'm saying is Rockies took 2 out of 3. So
Yeah.
you never know. We will also talk a little bit to open the show today about where the Royals stand at this deadline and where they should feel secure as far as the 8, we'll call it 9 lineup positions. We'll throw DH in there. Where they should feel like they've got both short-term and near-term, we'll say instead of long-term, just near-term, next 2-3 seasons worth of solutions at those 9 lineup spots. And I've come to the conclusion that they don't have a lot, and they don't have a lot of routes to get a lot. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of help on the way. And however grim you think it is in the Royals farm system, it's worse than that. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means exactly and why the Royals draft strategy this year might have tipped their hand a little bit about how they're going to try and improve the roster moving forward. That's coming up later on this hour. Lots of Chiefs content today. Training camp. They're in pads for the first time. The pads are popping. The left tackles, not great today by all accounts.
Nope.
Neither of them. Kingsley Suamataia got the snaps with the ones. Had a tough day. Mike Dana baptized him a little bit. Wanye Morris, reportedly not a great day running with the 2s as well. So we'll talk plenty about what we saw or heard from Chiefs training camp today, and we'll hear from someone who was there. Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider. He'll join us at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Matt from ChiefsDigest.com will join us and give his impressions on what he has seen so far up in St. Joe. We'll also hear from Big Red. Andy Reid spoke to the media earlier today. Had plenty to say about those left tackles, talking about some of the wide receivers, talked a little bit about some of the young pass rushers, and a veteran or a former Chief, a longtime Chief, who's been at camp working with some of those young guys. Patrick Mahomes also spoke to the media today. He had a lot to say about his wide receiver group and the way the deep ball is showing up so far in camp and what he's seen from the young left tackle, what he's seen from some of the young wide receivers. He also talks about where he's at in his road to glory mode on College Football 25. You know, the important stuff. Oh, yeah, and he was definitely asked about that viral video from Raiders camp. He's seen it.
It's going to get so ugly in that game.
You want to turn on your mic?
I thought it was on.
Yeah, it is now.
It's going to get really ugly. It was going to be so ugly I couldn't even speak about it publicly. That's how ugly that one's going to get.
Also speaking today at camp, Felix Anudike-Uzomah had some interesting things to say about how he's trying to improve himself and give himself more of an opportunity to contribute in year number 2. So we're going to hear from Big Red, we're going to hear from QB1, and we're going to hear from King Felix on the show today. Also, the Olympics getting underway. As we speak, the Parade of Nations is occurring on the River Seine. It is pouring rain.
All important things, the location, the weather, all of that. The real headline for the opening ceremony at the Olympics is that Gojira played. French black doom metal band Gojira was one of the featured musical acts.
That's culture, man.
It's incredible.
That's, everybody gets a chance to show off their culture. And
if we don't have Metallica at least play in 2028 in LA, what's the point of having the games here? What is the point?
We already did the G-Funk Super Bowl halftime show. We got G-Funk opening ceremony.
I could live with
Kendrick
that.
Lamar doing Not Like Us.
That would go nuts.
Yeah, song's still going to be ringing off in 2028. I can guarantee that. So we'll talk a little bit about the Olympics getting underway. Some fun discussion about really the first normal Olympiad since the 2018 Winter Games. Remember, the 2020 Summer Games didn't happen in 2020. And then when they did happen in 2021, happened in empty venues. So this is going to be the first time in 8 years we have seen a Summer Olympics as conceived. A great crowd, a buzz in the air, an atmosphere for all of these great athletic feats. And we'll talk about what we're looking forward to about the games of the, I don't remember what Olympiad this is. I should have Googled that before I opened my mouth.
I think I know, but I need to check because I don't want to be wrong.
Like the 33rd Olympiad, perhaps?
I was going to say 34th. It will be, hold on. Continue. I'll
all right.
get it here in a second.
We'll talk about the Olympics a little bit later on. Plus, all the things you've come to know and love from a Friday edition of the program. A little round of Change My Mind, a round of On Second Thought. We'll crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll have the sports headlines in the 5 o'clock hour as well.
You are correct. It is the games of the 33rd Olympiad.
Look at me.
Do
it in French.
Oh shoot.
Do it in French.
I need to remember the number.
Come on, numbers are easy. Come on.
Okay. Jeux de la 33e Olympiade.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
I got the pronunciation down still pretty well. I was just talking to Abby, my wife, earlier today. One of my best friends, he was in my wedding, in fact, is in Paris. He's going to see some events. He got tickets, won lottery tickets to go see a few different disciplines at the Olympics. So he's in France right now. And we were talking about, man, I would love to go back. She did not have a good experience there in France as a teenager. She went, well, maybe someone who is fluent in the language would make it easier to be there. I was like, well, I am not fluent, but I know at least enough verbs I could get us by. Can sound like I know enough of it that I could get by.
That's the biggest problem with, I took Spanish for 8 years and retain like the vocabulary well enough that like if you maybe read something in Spanish, I could figure it out. Trying to piece together sentences, like I can do it on a very basic level, but like the verb tenses just wipe me out. Just absolutely pluperfect. That's what the hell is that?
Yeah, if you hit me with pluska parfait, my brain just turns off. I just fall asleep. It's over.
So maybe Brennan will speak more French on the program over the course of the 2 weeks. We'll do like a French lesson every day.
Oh yeah, we should do that.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Real quick, what's their anthem called again?
La Marseillaise.
La Marseillaise. I was going to get it wrong again. La Marseillaise.
If you have
I was calling it La Marseillaise first. That sounds like something you spread on a sandwich.
Yeah. Is that like Vegemite? Yeah, La Marseillaise. It's badass. If you've never read the lyrics to La Marseillaise, read them. It is bloody.
It's the best part of Casablanca.
Yes, correct.
When they all sing La Marseillaise.
Yes. There you go.
I got
Perfect.
it. I'll get it eventually. See,
Perfect.
we're all going to learn French with Brendan during these Olympics. So
right. During one of the news breaks, I'm going to put something together for the 5 o'clock hour.
We're looking forward to that very much. You can interact with the show today. You can learn French along with us. You can also comment on what we're talking about. Join the fray in the YouTube live chat. If you are watching live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk is the channel. Subscribe today. Only costs you a click or the tap of a thumb. You can be notified when we go live. You can watch our live content and all our archived video content. And while the show's going on, you can interact with other listeners and interact with your host. You can also text the program. The Top City Metal Supply text line is open for business. 785-272-9429 is that number. That's 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply, south Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. Royals were off yesterday. They resumed their homestand against the Cubs tonight. So we're going to have a little overtime for you. Take you up to 6:30 for pregame coverage from the Royals Baseball Network. 7:10, first pitch of the series opener tonight. Royals will send Brady Singer to the mound against Cubs veteran Kyle Hendricks. The Royals are 4-2 on the current homestand. We said before it began, 6 wins was going to be ideal. You wouldn't be mad at a winning homestand. 5-4 you could live with, but 6-3 or better was the goal. They're going to have to win this series to get there. And doing all of that in the shadow of the upcoming trade deadline. Royals have already made one move, acquiring reliever Hunter Harvey from Washington last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago now. So looking at some of the other possibilities for the Royals to upgrade, I was wondering which positions you feel best about for the Royals, not just for the remainder of this season, but moving beyond 2024. Because obviously, shortstop set. Mm-hmm. You're not worried about that for another decade. The Royals have 2 viable starting caliber catchers on their roster. I think Freddie Fermin has hit enough as a big leaguer over the course of now the better part of 2 seasons that I feel comfortable saying that is a starting caliber big league catcher.
I agree.
Out of nowhere, this is not the outcome I think you would have predicted for Freddie Fermin, but he got there. And he is a starting caliber catcher. And Salvador Perez, of course, is Salvador Perez. And if the Royals have organizational depth anywhere, it's at catcher. Their best prospect, Blake Mitchell, is a catcher. Carter Jensen is one of their other really good prospects. He's a catcher. They've got one they really like at the complex leagues who just came from the Dominican, I believe, Ramon Ramirez. That's where their positional depth is for the future. So catcher, Royals are set. First base, I think they're set. Vinny Pasquantino, I thought he'd be a little bit. I thought he'd hit for a higher average. Let's say that. I thought he would hit for a higher average in the bigs, but he's getting on base and he's hitting for power. And most importantly, he's driving in runs. He's driving in runs. He's being a run producer in the middle of the order. So first base, that lineup spot is set with Vinny Pasquantino. But how many other positions do you feel like the Royals have their solutions for the next, let's say the rest of this season and the next two?
I don't know that there's a single one. Are you going to include pitching here?
No, we're just talking about the position players here, because pitching wise, I think that's a different conversation, because
that's fair.
And I'll touch on this more later on, but I do think that that's where the organizational depth is right now, rather than with position players. So the Royals have some arms that are at least intriguing in single A, double A right now. They're starting to build that part of their organization up in a way that they're a little behind regarding position guys.
So if we just go around the horn then. Catcher, yes, agreed. Catcher's good. I'm confident with where the catcher spot is, even with a bit of an up and down season for Sal. He's still been very productive. 807 OPS, even with a lull for quite a while. The fact that he's actually played 100 games is kind of a marvel at this point for Salvador Perez, if we're being completely honest. He has only missed 3 games all season. That's all he's missed for a catcher in his mid-30s. That's unbelievable. And he's still hitting at a high pace. I'm right there with you on Fermin. Good on catcher. I'm good on Pasquantino at first base. I agree with you. I thought we would see a higher average. Doesn't strike out a ton. Would love for him to walk a little bit more, but he's been an above average offensive player. He's he's good at batting runs in, driving runs in. I'm fine with Vinny at first base. Plus, you have him forever. He's going to be under contract for 4 more years, or he's under team control for, I think, the next 4 years. 1 more pre-arb year, and then 3 years of arbitration. Second base. Where are you on Massey?
I think if Michael Massey is able to play defense, I like him. I think that this year he's been an above-average offensive contributor, though a lot of that is the power, because he's not going to give you much in the way of on base. He's drawn 3 walks in 174 plate appearances.
That's not good.
That is incredible. But he's also only struck out 26 times. There's a lot of bat to ball there. It's a very Royals offensive profile. Not a lot of walks, but also not a lot of strikeouts. We're getting close to the 1,000 at bat plateau, or the 1,000 plate appearance plateau in his career. 14% OPS below average, but a lot of that was the miserable start to last year where we went like 0 for April.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I think Michael Massey is a big leaguer. I think also you should feel like that's a spot, if an upgrade presented itself, you should make that upgrade.
I
don't know that he's more than a 2-win guy at his best at second base, which not bad. Those are useful players, especially if you're pre-arbitration dollars.
Right.
But that's not a spot where I would say, oh yeah, we're locked in with Michael Massey.
I would agree with that. I feel better about Michael Massey if he is somewhere between like your 6th and 9th best batter, as opposed to being one of your top 5 batters. I like Michael Massey a whole lot more in that department. His rookie year, 52 games played, OPS plus 93. Okay, there's something to build on there. He drew more walks, 3 times as many walks that year. He had 9 walks in 52 games, 4 more games than he's played this year with a third as many walks. Last year, like you mentioned, he was so bad early on. I don't have his splits for later in the season in front of me. If he is a contributor and not a guy you are asking to shoulder the load for your offense, I'm okay. I'm all right saying I'm cool with him at least for another year or 2. Shortstop, duh. You've got one of the best players in all of baseball right there. You're cool at shortstop. By the way, side note here, do you know what Bobby Witt Jr.'s wins above replacement pace is right now? According to Baseball Reference, B-WAR, he's at 6.4 wins above replacement right now. Do you know what that pace is for over 162 games?
Around like 9.5.
10.06. That would be, by quite a bit, the single best season by a Royals position player ever by that metric.
George Brett's 1980 was 9.4 wins above replacement.
And again, George Brett, 1980.
That's the gold standard, right? That's one of the great seasons ever.
Ever.
Not just by a Royal, not just by a third baseman. That's one of the great seasons ever, period. Full stop.
George Brett has 5 of the 7 best seasons in Royals history and wins above replacement. Like, that's Bobby Witt Jr. You can't say enough about him. Third base, I am not settled there at all. I have major questions. I want it to be Maikel Garcia. I love the idea of what he can be. I don't think we've seen enough in terms of actually hitting that ceiling to be comfortable with that.
We are now 26 plate appearances away from 1,000 in his career, and he has been 19% worse than league average, according to OPS Plus.
The speed is nice. The glove is nice.
Yes,
but
I like the profile better as a second baseman, which I know we were hard on the Royals and hard on Matt Quatraro for moving Garcia around the diamond and having him play more second base. But I wonder if the Royals are feeling like with his lack of power, because he's not going to. The little surge he had the first week of the season was nice. He's got 6 home runs. He's got 10 career home runs in 974 plate appearances. Like, yeah, it's not going to be. You want pop from third base. Otherwise, he'd better be like Nolan Arenado defensively. You better be that valuable as a defensive player. And while he's a very good defensive player, he is not that valuable. So I wonder if they look at what Garcia does do, which is put the ball in play, does make a lot of contact, runs exceptionally well. He's 46 for 54 stealing bases in his career. I wonder if they look at that and feel like, maybe that's a second base profile long term. And maybe they feel more comfortable with him there. He's also still fairly young. He's 24 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the possibility for some growth there. He's 2 years younger than Michael Massey.
If he was giving me an OPS plus, an offensive production in the neighborhood of like 90, still below average, but not downright bad, I would be much more comfortable with Maikel Garcia, given the other things he gives you, especially, like you mentioned, if he's profiling more as a second baseman, which, for the record, I'm fine if the Royals say you are a second baseman. I would rather just know he is something there. When the OPS is, 80 or near 80, that's too low for me. I need more than that. And I'm not settled about anything in the outfield at all.
Your right fielder is Jack Caglione in 2 years, right? Like Hunter Renfroe's got a player option for next year at $7.5 million. Maybe he picks that up. Maybe he doesn't.
I kind of hope he does.
Hey, if it's the Hunter Renfroe we've seen since April, absolutely. That's somebody that helps your lineup and impacts winning with his bat. But whoever out there in right field's keep the spot warm for Cags. Like that's him. Ideally by the beginning of 26, I think you're looking at him. He should be advanced enough as an offensive player that they should get him some at bats at A-ball this year. He should wreck Double-A next year and make his. I think the ideal is big league debut next year, next August, September, something like that, and then he's your full-time right fielder in 2026.
Yeah.
Kyle Isbell is 62 plate appearances away from that 1,000 plate appearance mark. The old adage in baseball, by the way, if you don't know what I'm referencing, there's an adage in baseball that once you're 1,000 plate appearances in, you kind of are who you are as a hitter. There's not a lot of changes you're going to make, at least to your profile. Like, you're not suddenly going to gain a bunch of power. You're not suddenly going to strike out a whole lot less. You're not suddenly going to walk a whole bunch more. The profile is what the profile is. Kyle Isbell in 938 career plate appearances, 20% worse than league average, according to OPS Plus. I like his defense better than some of the advanced metrics seem to. He is a 2-win center fielder. That is a fine player when they are pre-arbitration. He becomes arbitration eligible this next year. That is going to be an interesting decision for the Royals. I think you're not going to have 9 above average hitters in your everyday lineup. And if there's one position for the Royals, I think they can look and say, hey, we'll live with something less than above average offense. If what we're getting defensively makes up the difference, it's center field.
Yep.
I am willing to live with Kyle Isbell.
I am
If
too.
you can upgrade it, like that's a spot where I wouldn't say no to an upgrade, but that's also a spot where I feel like, yeah, if Kyle Isbell is who they're riding with through his arbitration years, that's fine.
I think the corners and third base are a bigger priority than replacing Kyle Isbell. Like, if you had to rank the priority of replacing those guys, I would put Isbell at the bottom. That
Sure.
I would love better, but he's good enough that I'm fine. If he's your 9-hole hitter and he's giving you plus defense in center field and he's not killing you at the plate, I can live with it. And then left field is that's bad. That's a bad spot. I'll just say that right now. That's a bad spot.
Big step in the wrong direction for MJ Melendez this year, and he's well over. He's close to 1,500 plate appearances and 8% below league average according to OPS Plus, and progressively going the wrong direction in that with that number in his big league career from 99. He was right at league average essentially as a rookie. 93 last year, 78 so far this year. So
I don't know that, like a non-tender is the right move, but if I was running the Royals, I would not be building with the thought in mind that he is going to be a contributor. And we've seen these stories at this point. I think if I was putting this team together, if I was in JJ Piccolo's shoes, John Sherman's shoes, even Matt Quattro's shoes, I am going forward with the expectation that MJ Melendez not only could be replaced, but will be replaced.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. And I don't know, maybe he's bait in a challenge trade somewhere down the road, but yeah, I don't see it. And the unfortunate thing for the Royals right now is when you look at the near-term future, when you look and say, okay, well, could they upgrade on these 5 positions where, I mean, I think you live with Renfroe in right field right now because of how well he's swinging the bat. But those other 4 positions, second base, third base, center field, left field, you're not getting a ton offensively from 3 of those spots. And Massey right now isn't giving you anything defensively because he's having trouble moving around out there. But the farm system isn't well regarded. It's worse than you think.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 guys that I would say confidently that are in the Royal system right now are going to make the major leagues. Not make an impact, not be above average regulars, starters, all-stars, anything like that. There are 4 names I will give you. Blake Mitchell, Carter Jensen, Gavin Cross, Jack Caglione. Those are the 4 I think are going to make it to the major leagues.
And I mean, there's no,
and
Gavin Cross might be a guy. He might be quad. Who knows?
He's bounced back nicely this year. Maybe he's your right field. Maybe he gets a look in a corner next year. I would not be opposed to that idea. But
honestly, to that point, I know we have to get to a break here. To that point, though, that's why I really want the Royals to take a swing at in the next 5 days. Like, you don't have a lot of organizational depth with the bats right now. You've got a chance to actually really make some noise this year. Go for it. Just push for it right now. Figure it out later. The farm system, I mean.
The Royals, after Caglione, drafted nothing but pitchers the rest of the first 10 rounds of the draft, the slotted picks in the draft. And it makes me wonder if that strategy was in anticipation of having to use the pitching half of their farm system to make upgrades, A, to the big league club, but B, maybe organizationally.
Yeah.
And to try and build up some, not just build up some position player depth, but maybe those are the guys, your Frank Mazzucatos, Ben Cadernas, guys like that. Those are maybe the trade pieces that you see the Royals use, because it's not just about this year, right? Like, you want to be great while Bobby Witt Jr. is great. You want to be great over the long haul, but there's no wave coming like there was in 2011. Like, there's not that big cluster of prospects. That wave was 2 years ago, and it produced Bobby Witt Jr. So, I mean, honestly, it was a success. But also, Nick Pratto, not a big leaguer. I think firmly we can say Nick Pratto is not a major leaguer.
Nope.
MJ Melendez getting laid early for MJ. That group of players has been a letdown outside of Bobby Witt Jr. So the Royals are going to need to find some long-term solutions. Now, if Michael Massey is healthy and he is a league average bat, which he has been this year, he's been slightly above league average, in fact, then fine. I'm okay with him as a long-term second baseman. If Kyle Isbell is this defender, I'm fine with him as the long-term center fielder. But you're going to have a little more pop in this lineup. You're going to have a little bit more offensive production in this lineup, a little more security in this lineup moving forward. And it's going to be really hard for the Royals to get it unless they're willing to trade from the pitching half of their organizational depth, because the position player depth really lacking. We are well overdue for our first break here on the program. We'll come back, play a quick game of Change My Mind. Later on this hour, we'll hear from Andy Reid. Lots more to come on this edition of 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 WIBW.
How did that come up?
2:39 on 580 Sports Talk. We got a round of Change My Mind. Going to go through this real quickly here. Change my mind. Team USA men's basketball will not win the gold medal.
I can understand why one might feel like they won't this year. Not especially impressive in the friendlies, the warm-up games. They've still got a majority of the best players in the world. And I know other teams have some good chemistry and whatnot. LeBron is playing out of his mind. This clearly means something to him this year. Steph, I think, finally getting to play in the Olympics is going to be... Isn't that crazy? Because like he's never played in the Olympics before.
Yeah, that's wild.
That is insane. I think once they get the rotation figured out with the bigs, and Embiid should play like 10 minutes a game. It should be Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo.
That's 10 too many. Joel Embiid doesn't understand that FIBA officials don't want to see him fall down, and they aren't going to give him 2 free throws every time he falls down.
Once they get that figured out, and I do believe they will, this is still the best team in the competition.
You know, they play tomorrow morning.
What time?
I believe it's 8:15 a.m. You know who they play?
Serbia?
Yes.
They play the big fella.
The Serbs, my beloved Balkan son, Nikola Jokic. I have no idea how I want that game to go. I just want Jokic not to get hurt, mainly.
No, that's fair. 35 points and a 12-point loss.
It says 10:15 a.m. Central Time.
Oh, so it's 9:15 Central?
10:15 Central.
Okay.
According to what I found online.
Apparently, the time I saw was done in Mountain Time for Jokic's fans in the Mile High City.
Oh, that would make sense.
10:15 a.m. Yes, I will be watching.
Yeah,
I will be there no matter what.
All right, for me, we're going to get to this a little more in-depth coming up during our 580 Sports Talk headlines today. Change my mind. This isn't just a bad schedule for K-State basketball in the non-con. It's embarrassing. New Orleans, Cleveland State, LSU, Mississippi Valley State at home, that awful Paradise Jam field, Arkansas Pine Bluff at St. John's, Kansas City versus Drake at Wichita State. That it's not bad, it's embarrassing.
Well, if they had 2 more slots to fill on that non-conference schedule, and they filled them with really good teams, then it would functionally be what they've actually done because the Big 12 season expanded by 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that Kansas State looked at what Iowa State did last year, where Iowa State scheduled like the Sisters of the Poor 10 times over, and it did not seem to affect their net or their Ken Palm or their RPI in any appreciable fashion.
I just think it's so this is the biggest flaw with the net. Like, now teams are just hunting for 20-point wins.
Yes. That is what is most important now to the selection committee, is if that's the metric they're looking at the closest, and every reason to believe that it is, because it's the NCAA's metric. The thing that helps you in that metric is not winning, is not scheduling tough. It is winning via blowout, winning big, no matter who you play, just winning big.
Yeah.
So Kansas State's just playing the game. You know, they're playing the game. They're trying to make sure they get into the NCAA tournament after missing it last year. If I'm a season ticket holder, I'm not wild about the first 5 games at Bramlage being New Orleans, Cleveland State, LSU, Mississippi Valley State, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. That's making me wonder what I'm paying for.
Yeah, I'd be mad.
What do they say? Hate the game, not the player, though.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
Yeah,
and I do hate the game.
Yes,
I hate it quite a bit.
I like how it ends. At St. John's going to be a tough game. Drake in Kansas City. I think that Ben McCollum will have his guys ready to go.
Oh yeah.
At Wichita State. That's going to be a very tough atmosphere to go into because Wichita State has been clamoring to play any of the in-state teams at Coke Arena for years, and now they get it.
Think that'll be Coke or Intrust?
No, it's Coke. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I hope it is.
I'm pretty sure.
I hope it is. But yeah, I the last 3 games are the best part of it. The first chunk is gross.
Let me double check that before we go to break here and make sure I'm not giving bad information to the people. Oh yeah, it's Coke Arena. Yeah.
Good.
So
that's awesome.
It's a campus game. So that's going to be a great atmosphere and a really tough place to go and play, and a good final tune-up, I think, for what Big 12 road atmospheres are going to be like. But yeah, it is. It's unfortunate, and I think that they're going to have trouble getting people into the building for Cleveland State on a Saturday. But it is what it is. It's just that's the game. That's the way you have to play the game these days. We will take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Andy Reid spoke to the media earlier today at Chiefs training camp. We'll hear from Big Red on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Lots of good stuff from Chiefs training camp earlier today. Later on in the show, we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes and also the former Kansas State Wildcat, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, entering his second NFL training camp. And he had some interesting things to say about how he's getting ready to be a bigger part of proceedings this year.
Saw some positive reviews from a couple guys I know who were at camp today. Thought that he was looking a little bit more refined than he did this time last year.
That's the biggest thing, right? And I think it was Jesse Newell who shared this. There are 42 players in camp who are defensive players. 42 players at Chiefs camp.
So 42 out of 90.
Who are defensive players, including 10 rookies, 10 first-year guys, either draftees or rookie
agents,
camp advice, rookie free agents. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is the second youngest of the entire group.
Wow.
And this is his second year.
Wow.
Like, that's what we're dealing with here. Is somebody who is so raw still. And I think the Chiefs, I can't imagine the Chiefs didn't know that and expect that it might be slower goings for him at the beginning, but the ceiling is still there, as anybody who watched him at Kansas State can attest. And I'm still excited to see what Felix can do with some more opportunities this year. Andy Reid talked a little bit about Felix Anudike-Uzomah, also had plenty to say about some other players as well earlier today in St. Joe. Here's Big Red.
All right, just Justin Reed and Watson didn't go today. Xavier was back out there working. So good day, back in pads, which is a positive. The guys moved around great. We're in this wrap-up phase, so this is an hour and 40 minute practice, and then we'll kick it up a little bit more tomorrow. Eventually get to our normal practice. But I thought the guys worked hard. They challenged each other back and forth, offense, defense. Positive. Time's yours.
Andy, how was your assessment in his first day with pads and how that left tackle position is going?
Yeah, listen, he did some good. All four of those guys are working hard. So the tackles, I'm saying, both the two deep looks on either side. So I thought he did a nice job for what I saw. I mean, I've got to go up and look at it, see where we're at. But he's working through some things and learning. And as long as he keeps working, and this goes for all of them, they keep working, they'll be fine.
Mike Ganna's kind of an unsung guy on this defense. Can you tell me what he means to the defense and how happy you were that you guys were able to bring him back?
Yeah. So Mike, he goes 100 miles an hour every play. He never says a word. He just works. And you appreciate that. You hear about bringing your lunch pail and all that. That's him. That's how he goes. Good representative of Michigan football, man. So.
Can you discern the difference in maybe understanding the playbook, speed of the game, comfortability from Felix from now year one and year two?
And get off. That's what you're seeing. More comfortable with that. Getting himself upfield, moving. I think he's more confident in what we're doing and what he's doing. So, yeah.
Do you anticipate Justin Watson being out for a long period?
I don't think so. I think it's been 9 days since the injury, so it hadn't been that long. But we'll see. There's nobody that wants to be out here more than he does. So he doesn't miss. I mean, he's that guy. So for him to miss, it's driving him crazy. Both he and Tooney are going nutty over this thing.
Coach Xavier was out earlier this week. Now he's back the first day in pads.
Yeah, he had strep throat, so he worked his way through that. And you got to quarantined up here in the dorms, so we let him out. He's out and practicing. He feels good. His weight's where it needs to be, and he lost a little bit, and then he was able to get it back. So, but we watched him, try to monitor him today, just like we're doing with Hilaire. We're doing the same thing. He had been sick, and we're just kind of monitoring him, going through and kind of ramping him up as he goes, and giving him not quite as many reps as what he would normally have. So, but that's what.
Pardon me. With Nico, James Toad, Matt Nagy both have said that's a guy that they're rooting for. What makes him one of those guys as a coach that you kind of have that feeling?
Yeah, he's smart, hard worker. He tries his best every play, and he studies. You can tell he studies because he knows all the spots. He's got a great attitude, positive attitude. So those kind of guys you pull for. He's a lot like you, Matt. Doggone it.
Andy, sorry, I was asking about Justin Watson, not Justin Reid.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so Justin Watson, he's working and doing his thing. That we don't really have a timeline on him yet. We're just kind of playing it by ear. We'll see where that goes. But it's day to day.
Andy, what are your thoughts on just Carson Wentz, the first, not out of practice, but just experience with him?
Yeah, Carson Wentz, I think he's doing a heck of a job. He's a fast learner, wants to do it the right way. He's got a good feel for the game. I think we're fortunate to have him. Yeah.
What about your wide receiver core? Obviously, you had wide receivers come and go since your time there. What about this group excites you the most?
Yeah, I like their attitude. I mean, you're not seeing them pull themselves out. They're fighting through things. There's competition. They've got speed, and the fast guys are trying to maintain that through the practice, which isn't an easy thing to do. But they're pushing themselves there, and I like their attitude, and we've got some depth there. So, and they keep challenging each other. We'll be better.
Andy, with the deep game, first team period, you just try to stress it going deep. Just how would you assess how that's going so far, and just how it's just trying to pull into this?
Yeah, you've got to work it. So it's those aren't real high percentage throws necessarily. So, but and a lot of it's because of the distance, obviously. But it's also that you have a tendency not to work them when things get hot and humid and all that. So you get them knocked out and work it and push yourself through those. Yeah.
And Holly has worked with George and now Felix in the offseason. What's that mean to have a guy like Tamba still have ownership and work with some of these young defensive linemen?
Yeah, Tamba's all in. He does a great job with all that. He does the martial arts things with him, judo and all that, jiu-jitsu. And probably none of them can whip him. So he's pretty good at all that stuff. But I think it's great. It's great exercise. And you want to find out about, how you can handle your body and through endurance and when being physical, that's a good way to go.
That was Andy Reid earlier today at Chiefs training camp. Some positive things to say about Felix Anudike-Uzomah and some positive things to say about Nico Remigio. Really well-liked player. Mm-hmm. It's no wonder that everything you hear about a guy like that is positive. You sense that people are kind of rooting for him to go take a 53-man roster spot.
I was going to say, you think he's going to be the camp darling this year? Has that already been locked in?
Oh, yeah. He's absolutely the camp darling. There's no question.
Justin Ross, have not heard a peep about him as of yet.
He caught a touchdown today from Carson Wentz.
That's
so
true.
Got that
he did do that. It's a different kind of camp darling, though, just real quick, because Ross, but remember his freshman season at Clemson? No one watched Nico Remigio.
Fresno State.
I mean, we did, but we're not normal.
We did. We were watching Jake Hayner find Nico Remigio.
Right.
But sickos like us.
Yeah, not everybody was chasing a win at 11 p.m. Central Time after a rough day at the old sports book.
What do you know about Andrew Parchment and KU?
Andrew Parchment transferred to Florida State.
Exactly.
Yeah, had one really good year. Yeah, like having a guy who everybody knows, and that's why you're rooting for him, much different than why people would root for a guy like Nico Remigio. But I hope he makes the team.
Good stuff from Andy Reid. Later on in the show, we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes and Felix Anudike-Uzomah, both of whom also spoke after practice today. We got some more Chiefs training camp to talk about to lead off the next hour, plus some On Second Thought, and Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider from ChiefsDigest.com, will join us at the bottom of the next hour. So stay with us. We got lots more show to come on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Let's get it. Hour number 2, Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Trenton Craxter, the Power Trio with you this afternoon. Spencer Dupuy's vacation continues. He'll come back and hang out with us again next week. We are on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and our video stream is at our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. If YouTube is too intimidating a place for you, but you would still like to watch the video stream, you can just go to 580WIBW.com, and it's right there on the front page. You just go 580WIBW.com, and I lied. It's not on the front page. Why isn't it on the front page?
Try refreshing once or twice.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, right on the front page.
Sometimes our studio computers can be a tad bit slow. So funny enough, mine was raring to go, and this PC on a daily basis, like I'm always kind of worried it's just going to fall apart.
Yeah, you can't see it if you're not watching the video stream. And if you're watching the video stream, you can see that Brendan has an Apple IIe that he's using.
Nice. Whatever the MacBook was in that famed commercial,
the big fat shell ones with the fun colors.
No, I'm thinking of like the 1984 commercial, the one they aired during the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
The first
Macintosh. OG Macintosh.
Like that's what I'm running over here. When I was a kid, my elementary school and junior high, I guess, we had Apple computers, as that was who our school had a contract with.
We had those colorful iMacs.
When I was a kid, I remember the clamshell colorful. We had I think we all had blue ones.
All of ours were blue. Yeah. That must have been the school option was blue.
Did you have the same in high school, or did you go to PC then?
I'm trying to remember.
We had PCs in high school. I'm a PC guy. I have an iPhone. I actually have an iPad too, an old model, but I'm computer-wise PC every time.
Yeah, I'm all in on Team iPhone, but I have an Android tablet, and I have never owned any laptop that was not a PC Windows laptop.
I'm a big fan of PCs and all you can do with them. This is like really fascinating conversation here. I was debating on Prime Day whether or not I should get an iPad on Amazon, like an older model one for a little bit cheaper, or if I should just get like a Fire branded tablet, the Amazon brand, for like $150 cheaper. And I just agonized over it so much, I just forgot to buy one.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll do it before midnight. And then I forgot.
Listen, been there many times. I have an old Samsung Galaxy Pro tablet, and I've had that since like 2017. It still cooks.
Nice.
Yeah, still cooks. I read a lot on it, and it's functional
like
for
book reading, or just like
book reading.
Wikipedia and Twitter.
Book reading. I'm big on the Libby app. My wife's got a library card.
So I was gonna say that's the library one.
Yeah. You can check books, check out ebooks.
You don't have a library card?
I do not. I've never gotten around to getting one, but my wife has one, so I just plug in her info in the Libby app.
That makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, and I did a lot of reading before Asher got to this world, and I don't think I've picked up a book.
I guess I don't have a library card here either. I had one in Lawrence, but I don't have one here in town.
The Lawrence one should still work. It might be have different access to books, but
at the on the app. Like actually physically going to the Topeka Public Library.
Well, you should do that. It's a great library.
I know. My wife has loved it.
Yeah, it's a really
get the little book drops all over town.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
No, it's a super library. We got a great library here in Topeka. This has been talking technology with Dan and Brendan. Look out,
real boomer ass conversation here.
Look out for remember IMAX? Oh my God, we've never aged ourselves more. Trenton has no idea what we're talking about. Trenton, they gave you Chromebooks at school, probably.
Yes, they did. I will say, when I went to middle school, like you had to check out a computer, and it was an Apple, but I don't know what model it was. And then when we got to high school, you had like an iPad, I think, my freshman year, and then like the next 3 years, you had like your own Chromebook that you had for the school year.
I'm old enough to have played Oregon Trail on the floppy disk in elementary school.
Nothing got you through like cool math games.
Yeah,
which got taken down.
We didn't have our own.
Remember Swamp Gas? That was the one for us.
We didn't have our own computers, but each classroom had a collection of them, and we all had our own login and everything. I used to play a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog online during class. That was the move.
The Flash games.
Yes.
The Lifesavers. website had
had
the crazy flash games.
What website could I play a version of Mini Putt on?
Yes, I played so much Mini Putt. Paul would like you to know, Trenton, from the YouTube live chat, computers used to have to sit on a desk. You could not pick them up and take them with you and put them on your lap. This is a fact. I remember those days well. Still to come on 580 Sports Talk, we're going to talk to Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider. He was at training camp today at St. Joe and has been throughout the week. We're going to get Matt's thoughts on what he's seen the first full week of team practice, including the first day of padded drills today. That's coming up at the bottom of this hour. We'll also play a little game of On Second Thought. Chiefs training camp got underway today. The injury news was good for Nazeeh Johnson. That's a big relief. Nazeeh Johnson was being checked out after Wednesday's practice, left on a cart, concerned that it was the same leg on which he tore the ACL last year, had to miss the whole season. But he was back today and running again with the ones. So it seems like the Marshall product has picked up right where he's left off and is very much going to be a factor in the secondary this season, which is exciting. Like you give Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo another secondary piece on the chessboard to play with. That's an exciting thought.
What did you just call him?
What? Dave Merritt.
I think you said Dayson. I think you combined Dave and his son Dawson.
Did I?
I think so.
Maybe I did. Yes, his son Dawson, the Alabama commit.
Hell of a player.
Yes, Dave Merritt is the coach. And Steve Spagnuolo is the defensive coordinator. And the thought of them having another playable piece at defensive back, the more guys you have that can play, you can't have too many.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about edge rushers in that capacity, right? You can't have too many edge rushers. You cannot have too many guys capable of rushing the passer. I think anymore, that's also true about defensive backs. You cannot have too many guys who are capable of going in and putting in a shift and playing a solid zone, manning up when they need to, making plays on the ball, because you don't want to be in a spot where you're running out a guy on the outside and the quarterback looks in that direction and goes, I'm throwing at you all day. You don't want to end up in that spot. And the Chiefs have not for years. And the emergence of guys like Nazeeh Johnson is a big part of the reason why.
Yeah, it's a huge reason why, to be completely honest with you. And it's actually somewhat amazing how much depth the Chiefs have built for their defense. And I know just yesterday I was saying that I'm a little worried about some of the defensive depth, not in the backfield, not in the defensive backfield, excuse me. I think that they are primed to be in a really good position for, we were just having that discussion earlier about the Royals and what are the positions you feel good about for the next 2 to 3 years, not just this season, but going into 25, maybe even into 26. If you're talking about the Chiefs, this season, obviously you feel good, and you go into next year too, feeling like, damn, we've got one of the best groups in the entire NFL. We might not have 2 elite guys like we had in the 23 season with both McDuffie and Snead, but I think Joshua Williams is a good player. I think Jalen Watson's a good player. The two of them, I've shared this stat before, I believe were both, and granted on a fairly small sample size last year, top 10 in the NFL in coverage grade on a per snap basis, according to Sports Info Solutions, or maybe it was True Media, one of those places that does advanced NFL statistics. They're good at that. And Spags is going to have them doing that a lot, being physical at the line. That's what the Chiefs do. They're big dudes. They're big bodies. They're strong. They're good at that. So you've got those guys who you're comfortable starting. I like Nazeeh Johnson. They've continued to draft guys for that secondary. You feel great about it. The question is going to come next off season for most of those guys, because the way the NFL is structured and the way the salary cap works is you cannot keep everybody.
Right.
So, and that's the hard part about having a legendary draft, right? Wow, Karlaftis and McDuffie and a million other guys who have ended up being contributors, Watson and Williams and all these guys who have been contributors. Man, that's incredible. You cannot keep all of them. That is just not doable, because guys aren't going to take hometown discounts. And for the record, nor should they. Go get paid.
And Patrick Mahomes' cap number is going to go up. Because, again, from the very top of the show today, Tua Tagovailoa just signed a $53 million a year deal.
10th highest on average per year is Patrick Mahomes now. He's the 10th. There's 9 guys that are getting paid more than him per year.
Price of that brick is going up. And so you have to then, I mean, the salary cap will go up too accordingly, but the percentage of the salary cap that Patrick Mahomes is responsible for is going to go up.
And the Chiefs do benefit as well from the fact that, and well, benefit is a stretch, but we know Mahomes has said publicly, look, I want a fair contract, but I also want to win. That's the most important thing to me. I've made my money. I've got endorsements. I want to win, which you can only put so much stock in, but I think you can put a little bit of stock in that. It helps the Chiefs that he is everywhere. Local, national, international. He has so many endorsements. The money, it's kind of like Brady. Brady was different because his wife made like 5 times as much money as he did at the time. But like, you can probably say, hey, can we make this a creative contract? You'll get your money, but can we be more creative with the structure to make sure that instead of having to pick 2 of the 4 from Karlaftis, McDuffie, Williams, Watson, we might be able to keep a third on a short-term deal if we get creative with the deal, with your contract. That's something the Chiefs might be able to do with him, which is nice, and it's great to have a relatively selfless superstar quarterback like that. But that is what's going to be fascinating coming up next offseason, who will get an extension, and then the year after when those guys hit free agency, who might you be willing to bring back? But for now, that's a future Brett problem. That is not a right now Brett Veach problem. That is a future Brett problem. And right now, you've got, man, still a top 5. You lose Snead, that's tough. Top 10 secondary without question.
Yes.
I would say without question. Factoring both corners and safeties, still top 5. Justin Reid was pretty good last year after week 1.
He was.
Save for just a little hiccup here and there late in the year.
Still not practicing, but nobody seems real concerned about that being a long-term thing, at least at this point. So
I know you and I both really like Brian Cook. I love the draft pick.
I thought last year, by the end of the year, was the best. And I thought it was number 1 with a bullet. And again,
and it could have been even better had Cook been playing.
Yes. Like, they'll be deeper this year. Will they get the level of play that they got, particularly down the stretch last year, because Snead was so good? That remains to be seen. That maybe is what is unlikely. But the depth of this group, and you've got star power at the front of it with the All-Pro McDuffie, I still think it might be top 5, honestly. I mean, because it's hard to put together one with the depth that the Chiefs have, and also with guys who are above average starters everywhere.
Yeah,
I don't know who has 4 above average starters, or really 5 anymore.
I mean, just talking like raw talent, I like Cleveland's group quite a bit. They also, I mean, do you factor in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? You might. He's kind of a hybrid linebacker safety. He's a good player. Looking at PFF right now, their ranking from this offseason, they slotted the Chiefs 9th, right behind Green Bay. I actually like Green Bay's talent quite a bit. New coordinator, though, so that's a total unknown. They've still got the Chiefs 9th. I'd go a little higher than that. Jets 1st, Niners 2nd. I think that's too high for San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think they're more likely
to regress.
9th.
Man, they had to play Logan Ryan in the Super Bowl.
Like, they're giving them props for adding Isaac Yadam. I watched him start a handful of games for Green Bay 2 years ago. I would not be celebrating that move. I think they've got the Bills 3rd. I like the guys they have left, but they also lost. Their safety room is going to look completely different. Ravens 4th, fine. Dolphins 5th. Okay. I like the Browns a lot. I'd put them top 5. Seahawks 7th. Banking on a Reek Woolen bounce back.
Yeah,
I think
that's
included there.
That's the big key. I like Rayshon Jenkins, a free safety, but they'll miss
good player.
They'll miss Quandre Diggs, but Jenkins should replace him fine.
I'd probably slot the Chiefs like somewhere between 5 and 7, which is really good. That is good enough to win you a Super Bowl.
Yes,
absolutely,
100%. We mentioned Justin Reid not practicing today. Other than the pup list guys, Reid and Justin Watson, only guys not practicing. You heard Andy Reid earlier say it's a day-to-day thing for Justin Watson. Again, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world when veteran guys get dinged in practice. Like, you get more reps. Like Justin Reid's absences, more reps for Jaden Hicks, more reps for Kamal Hadden, more reps for Shamari Connor, maybe at the safety spot, more reps for some of the other defensive backs in the slot as a result of that. Like, I'm not fussed about either of these injuries. Doesn't sound like Andy Reid or anyone else is either. One thing that was not stellar today, by all accounts, and we'll get Matt Derrick. He was our boots on the ground today in St. Joe. We'll get him to confirm this, but it does not sound like the left tackles covered themselves in glory today. Now, Kingsley Suamataia started the day with the ones, and I believe ran with the starting unit all day at left tackle with Wanye Morris in the second team. It doesn't sound like either of them was particularly good. It sounded like Mike Dana in particular got the best of the rookie a couple of times. There's going to be days like that for young guys. Like, I don't think this is like, oh my gosh, bad day, first day of padded practice. Somebody find Donovan Smith's cell phone number. I don't think it's that, but you would like to be a little bit more encouraged than it sounds like the people who were there today were or came away feeling about the performance of those two guys.
I saw a couple of clips. The folks at KC Sports Network posted 2 reps from Mike Dana versus Kingsley Suamataia on Twitter. It immediately made a bunch of people in the replies freak out and say, oh my God, we need Donovan Smith right now. Please, someone save this line. I'm going to tell you this right now. And you know how much I love the NFL and how much I love football and how much I can't wait for the season to start. If you're going to act like that today, first padded practice, especially if you are a Chiefs fan.
Yes.
You need to go outside. You need to take a walk. You need to spend some time with your loved ones.
Touch a little grass.
Turn off your phone for a little bit. Maybe even go as far as to delete the app from your phone. Don't delete the documents and data. You can log back in later. Maybe just don't pay attention to social media right now. Do not freak out about this, okay? Maybe it ends up being bad. It is not going to sink the season if Kingsley Suamataia has a rough day against one of the more underrated defensive players in the AFC in Mike Dana, his first ever padded practice. And we knew going into the draft, Suamataia, not a finished product.
Raw.
Fairly high floor, I think, as a player because of his size and his bulk. Pretty high ceiling as well, but he has some room to grow. We knew that. There's why he's a second-round pick instead of a end of the second-round pick instead of a first-round pick. Do not freak out about this. That being said, I watched these 2 clips that were posted from, again, KC Sports Network. First rep, Mike Dana just cooked him. It was a slow get off by Suamataia. So, and Mitchell Schwartz even mentioned this on Twitter. You can see Dana getting downhill before Suamataia even gets out of his stance. You're going to get destroyed by a guy as good as Mike Dana, no matter who you are, if you're that slow off the ball. Second rep, much quicker off the ball. Now, he got bull rushed right back into what would have been Patrick Mahomes' lap, but got the get off, timed out better, got his hands on Dana, needs to use a little bit more power based on that rep right there. But the pieces are there. The size, the instincts, the body, all that stuff is there. He's going to be fine. It might take some time to develop early in the season, but if you're a Chiefs fan, I ask you to ask yourself this question. What are you more worried about? What does Kingsley Suamataia look like on July 26th, padded practice number 1, or what he looks like in December, January, and maybe into February? Because I think by that time, he will be at least serviceable. And given the fact that he's got an all-pro off his right shoulder, an all-pro caliber player at center, another all-pro caliber player at right guard, and a more than good enough right tackle on the other side, serviceable as a rookie is going to be just fine for this team.
That's all they've gotten is serviceable. Like, I don't think they've had like clearly above average left tackle play. I don't think Orlando Brown Jr. gave him much more than slightly above average. I think that Donovan Smith was right at about average last year.
Yeah, or even dipping under it every once in a while. The other thing that's going to help too, and sort of a point made here by Paul in the YouTube live chat. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. The defense might take a step back this season, but I feel like the offense will take at least that one step forward and ease a good amount of the pressure on the defense that forced them to be that good a year ago. And I was going to say that too, even if you want to just stick with the offensive point and talk about the offensive line, I don't see any reason why having a more competent group of pass catchers that's going to help Mahomes get the ball out more quickly. That's going to help the offense look crisper. That's going to help the offensive line. You're not going to have to hold a block for 3.5 seconds all the time. You're going to get glance routes to Hollywood Brown. That's a 5-yard completion that goes for 25 yards. You're going to get some stuff quickly off the ball with Xavier Worthy. You're going to have more open looks to Travis Kelce. And the lost thing here about Rashee Rice is probably going to get better. Second-year receiver in this system after how good he was last year. Lost in the sauce with how ugly his offseason has been. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a better player in 2024 than he was in 2023. And if that's the case, then you've upgraded yet another position, one that was already locked in. So I think having better pass catchers is really going to help take care of the potential woes with the left side of the offensive line.
Patrick Mahomes speaks to that. We're going to hear his audio later on in the show. We'll hear that at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. But Mahomes was asked about Rashee Rice today and talked about the ways in which he can improve in year 2. Yeah, I don't think he's plateaued. I don't think that for 1 second. I think there's an opportunity. A, you're just more comfortable as a second-year player in that offense. But B, you have a better relationship with your quarterback. You have a better relationship with the offense, better understanding of how to use your body, how to get open against NFL-caliber defense. I do. I don't think Rashee Rice is done growing at all. One other thing I want to touch on real quick. Ron Kopp from Arrowhead Pride was at St. Joe today and observing and tweeting out some observations. And he noticed that the Chiefs were throwing some 3-3 fronts at the offense today defensively. That would be 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers. And Leo Chenal was in the game as the 4th down lineman rusher. So essentially, it's a 3-3 either over or under, however you'd want to describe it, where you have 3 true defensive linemen and then Chenal lined up coming off of one of the edges with the other 2 linebackers in the game. I think that's a fascinating wrinkle that is designed to get the best out of Leo Chenal. I'm suddenly very interested in what his sack total might be this year, because I think that's a really fun way to deploy a player that has that in his skill set.
I think the guy who benefits the most from this potential alignment, and I don't think we're going to see a 3-3-5 base from the Chiefs by any means.
There's a reason you don't see that in the NFL.
No, but I think using that as a wrinkle is a fascinating way to get Chenal going downhill. Coming out of the draft, coming out of Wisconsin, the big knock on Chenal, and I actually, for a freelance project I did during that draft, I was grading linebackers. I was eating linebacker tape. Shout out to my guy, Chad Muma of the Jaguars, type 1 diabetic, who I had graded higher than Chenal, I think. But Chenal's testing numbers were crazy. The athleticism was crazy. But a lot of it was downhill. There wasn't a lot of side-to-side stuff. That was the big concern with him. Could he develop a better side-to-side game? Absolutely. But when you talk about the speed and the strength, a lot of it was being used as a blitzer or as a run stuffer in between the tackles. Get him downhill quickly. That is where he found a lot of success in Wisconsin. That worked for what they were running there. I had some concerns about him diversifying and being a more lateral player. But if you're telling me he still will have to do that and keep developing there, but if you're telling me now you can go back to the basics with him and you can say your 100th percentile linebacker speed, Leo, that thump you played with a lot when you played in the Big Ten, we're going to open up more opportunities for you to do that. It's going to be like a running back read, honestly, when you've got that 3-3-5 front. And go talk to a K-State defensive player or defensive coach about this and why they run it and why other teams, KU, has had a really hard time playing against those defenses. You think you have a hole, but then you've got a speedy linebacker coming right downhill. As long as you make that right initial read, you can kill a guy. You can completely shut down a run scheme or get after the quarterback when they're not prepared for you. So I think this is actually a really fun way, I agree with you, to try to get the best out of Leo Chenal, because I think we're going to see a lot of him this year. I think it also, Dan, is a way to help protect against some questions about the edge rushers early in the season before Menahu comes back, because it'll be a big evaluation period for Anudike-Uzomah. Dana, I think, is a very good player, but he's not an elite edge rusher by any means. I think this is a way on passing downs you can add a little bit more pass rush juice to help those guys out opposite Karlaftis.
I am really intrigued by Chenal's potential. I think it was on display down the stretch last year. He was hugely impactful in the Super Bowl. and eager to see what kind of plans that Steve Spagnuolo has to deploy the third-year linebacker out of Wisconsin this coming season. We got a lot more Chiefs to talk about. Matt Derrick will join us in just a little bit as our Chiefs insider. But first, a round of On Second Thought when we return after this break from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. Quick round of On Second Thought as we ask for mea culpas for some previous bad takes. On second thought, I kind of thought the Royals bench would give them more than it has given them this season. Adam Frazier was an all-star not long ago. Garrett Hampson was a plus-value player last year for the Marlins. Nick Lofton, I thought, would give you a good at-bat. Oh, wrong as hell about all three of those guys. And then Nelson Velasquez isn't even on the big club anymore. Yeah, man, swing and a miss on my part. That's been a very disappointing group of players.
Yeah, my feelings about Nick Lofton, that's number one for me. That's been a big miss. My other one, by the way, I would have put money down that a significant amount of it that Najee Kennedy was going to end up in Oklahoma. I was completely convinced, and I'm happy she's doing her own thing. I'm thrilled for her. She's reportedly going to get a big old payout from the Guns Up Collective at Texas Tech. I'm shocked, but happy to be wrong because as long as she's good, I'm good with it.
And it makes Big 12 softball that much more exciting for next season.
Absolutely.
No doubt about that. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Matt Derrick joins us, our Chiefs insider on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. That's on the other side of this break on the Kansas Drive to Zero studio here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, the great Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk, and he joins us after a week spent watching the action up at Missouri Western State University and Chiefs training camp. And Matt, was it particularly toasty this morning, or have they gotten some decent weather these first few days?
It has been pretty decent, I would say, since camp opened on Sunday. Driving up, they've got the temperature display out there, and it's been in the 60s. Today, when I got there, it showed 77. So, it was a little bit toastier today for that first day of pads. They are now starting to get the real St. Joe heat, and I think that's what Andy Reid wants, to be able to push these guys and test them and push them to their limits. And the weather in St. Joe can certainly do that.
All right, first thing I want to ask about, Matt, it seemed like from some of your eyewitness reporting / tweeting and the eyewitness views of others who were there in St. Joe, that this was not a day where the left tackle competition was decided. And in fact, neither Kingsley Suamataia or Wanye Morris appeared to have covered themselves in glory today. What did you see in detail from those two guys as they lined up today?
Yeah, there were really two elements to watch. I mean, one, obviously, is during the team period. There were a couple of 11-on-11 sessions. One was a team blitz, that usually favors the defense. There was another long drive session that can usually test both sides, but, you have to be out there for 10, 11 snaps in a row, and that can absolutely, wear down an offensive lineman and a tackle. And then there were the one-on-one sessions, and, there were some good and bad from the team periods and the 9-on-7. That was what Andy Reid was watching, and that's what he basically, his takeaway was that, both Kingsley Suamataia and Wanye Morris, acquitted themselves fairly well. There was some good, there was some bad. I think that probably the harder moments were in the one-on-one period. And I know I'm trying to remember all of the matchups without my notes in front of me, but I think Kingsley, I think, had one up against Mike Dana that didn't go real well. Wanya Morris had a couple of rough snaps too. Team periods, Kingsley had one bad snap for sure against George Karlaftis, and I think a lot of people are going to have some bad snaps against George Karlaftis. He just went outside, then kicked back inside, and just went right around Kingsley. It was a rough first day, Dan. I'm not going to lie. But once again, it's a small sample size. It's the first day, especially for Kingsley. First day really as an NFL player in the pad. Can't base anything on one day, and you give Wanya the break too. I mean, you got to see them both in the long term. You can't make a decision after one day, but I think it is a one day that at least will probably make the Chiefs coaches and personnel department go a little bit tilted their head to the side, trying to decide what's going to happen next.
Has it seemed to you like the defense in the team periods has been maybe a little bit ahead of the offense, or has outperformed the offense in some ways so far?
I think it's been kind of back and forth. Day one for sure there was a couple of really big plays, and when Xavier Worthy has been on the field and the offense has all of their weapons, you can see there's a little bit of separation. Today, maybe not as much. I think today was one of those days that was maybe built a little bit more for the defense. I think the defensive guys were also a lot more eager to have the pads on. Might have had a little bit more juice, but both sides have had some good moments. And I mean, they've been pushing each other back and forth. I think that's probably a good sign for this team. I think as good as that both sides of the football has been, if you've got them both winning days and really being kind of an even battle, I think for the Chiefs, you're feeling pretty good about that. It tells you that your offense is probably better than it was last year, and it's probably telling you that your defense is pretty good too.
We're chatting with Matt Derrick. He joins us every single Friday at this time for our Chiefs Insider on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Go find all of Matt's work at ChiefsDigest.com, his sensational work, I may add. And you can find him on Twitter as well, at Matt Derrick. Matt, right now, and I know you can't really judge this based on one padded practice at training camp, but just what you know about what this team has done during the offseason, how they're built, how much better do you think this offense will be than it was a year ago?
Yeah, quantifying it, I think, is going to be difficult. But I think it's going to be a lot better. I think it's going to be more efficient. There should certainly be elements of it that are much better, particularly in the deep passing game. I think they've got 3 legitimate downfield targets now, and I'm not sure that they had one last year. And I'm including Rashee Rice as one of those targets now, because I think he's better than he was a year ago. I think his kind of connection with Mahomes is matured. I think he's, understands kind of, how he needs to position himself on the field. He understands how Mahomes thinks a little bit better. So I think there's a little bit better connection there. I think he's just also worked on his game. And, he's, I think, been a really, really kind of, good target, at least in the beginning. But Worthy is, just an outstanding tracker of the ball. You can tell that. Almost had a couple of big plays today. I think, obviously coming back from the strep throat, having a few days off probably affected that a little bit, but, and Hollywood Brown has been fantastic as well. So, I think all 3 of those guys right now are better deep ball targets than anyone they had at any point last season. So, yeah, that area was so bad for the Chiefs last year that any improvement will make this offense better. But I think that, the fact that we're talking about, borderline candidates and on the bubble candidates being guys like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, these guys were absolutely on the roster last year. There was no argument. Now they're fighting for jobs. And I think that's just demonstrative of just how much better and deeper this receiver room is.
Have you ever had strep throat?
Many times, unfortunately. So I would be just like Xavier Worthy. There's no chance in the world I'd be out trying to catch passes with strep throat when it's 90 degrees outside.
That's one of many similarities between you and Xavier Worthy, obviously.
I think about the only one, actually. So.
You were both there today in St. Joe. That's another one.
There you go. There's 2. And I am taller than him, so at least I have that on him. I think he's got everything else on me, though. So.
Hey, as someone who is tall and doesn't have a whole lot else going for them, I like to lord that over people all the time. So I don't blame you for that at all, Matt. Speaking of pass catchers, Jared Wiley, saw a couple of highlights from him over the last couple of days. Obviously, first padded go today, make it over to social media. What have you thought about someone who I know you are very high on going into his rookie year?
Yeah, still really like Jared Wiley. I mean, and that entire tight end group, I think, has looked really good. But, yeah, the question for Wiley was going to be, really when the pads come on, is he going to look the same? And day one, I think, give him at least a solid B. I definitely always want to see more, and then you can have a larger sample size. But didn't look intimidated, didn't look scared, didn't look worried. We'll see how the pass protection and the run blocking comes along for him. That's going to be an important part of it. But hands-wise, I mean, I think he still looks the part. I don't think that putting the pads on is going to affect him that much. And at least from what we saw today, I think he's absolutely putting himself in that conversation. I mean, Chiefs are going to give him a hard look at maybe being the number 2 tight end on this team. And maybe he and Noah Gray share it. Maybe they're even both of them. I mean, I can see the Chiefs using them in completely different ways because I think they're completely different players. It's not a knock on either one of them. It's just that they're different kind of species of tight ends, and if the Chiefs can get them both on the field, maybe that is an advantage for them.
Matt Derrick is our guest. He joins us every Friday for our Chiefs Insider here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt, of course, covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. Defensive side of the ball. We were discussing this a little bit earlier on in the show, Matt. Just off the top of your head, not necessarily knowing what every defensive depth chart in the league looks like, where do you think you would rank the Chiefs secondary, best to worst, 1 to 32? Where do you think the Chiefs would fall for you?
Wow. I mean, when fully healthy and having Justin Reid back, I mean, I think their safety group individually is top 3, top 5, period. I mean, easily. I mean, I think they're, especially because they're deep. Jaden Hicks would start for some teams right now. I mean, I think he's that good. So, I mean, I'm just blown away at the safety depth. And I know the Chiefs are a little bit worried about their cornerback depth just because it's unproven, but I think there's up to 9 cornerbacks on this team that can play. So, I mean, I think obviously there's a drop off from Trent McDuffie down to, who's your number 2 corner. But I mean, I like their cornerback group too. I mean, I think it's easily top 5, top 7, especially from just a depth standpoint. There might be some top heavy cornerback rooms, and I know that there are, where maybe they've got, 2 really top shelf corners. But I mean, the Chiefs, I mean, I think they've got some very interchangeable parts. I think they've got ways that they can match up with teams pretty well. It's what we saw last year. I mean, I really like it, and I think they can actually stomach some injuries and maybe some issues. But, a big part of it's just going to be how good is Najee Johnson, which, we don't know. I mean, last year he looked like he was going to be really, really good. And he's right now, I mean, he's kind of getting back into his spot where he's the, right behind Trent McDuffie. And if he becomes a starter and now you've got Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson coming off the bench, I mean, that's really deep group to me. It's just going to be how good is Najee? I don't know. I mean, he kind of survived a little bit of a scare on Wednesday, but was right back at it today. And I think a lot of it, how good this group can be is going to be really just, what kind of a player is Najee Johnson right now.
Obviously, the Chiefs run multi-safety stuff, more than 2 safety stuff, as much or more than any other team in the NFL. Do you think that this defense and Spags might steer even more into those kind of personnel groupings, just knowing that maybe you are taking a half a step back in terms of cornerback production?
Very possible. And, and part of it is obviously Shamari Connor. Just Freudian slip there. I mean, Shamari Connor is a really interesting piece. I mean, technically a safety, but he's going to play a lot of nickel corner this year for this team. And so, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to be, a lot of times when they would be in substitution packages in the past with 3 corners and 2 safeties, it's going to be the exact opposite a lot of times this year. And I think they're going to find ways to get Jaden Hicks on the field too in a lot of those situations. And there's no doubt they do trust Connor. And I think we're even starting to see signs with Hicks too that Even though he's different, I mean, I think with Jaden Hicks, I think you're more favorable having him match up against the tight end. I don't think you really want him out on a receiver. He's a little bit bigger. I think he's probably, too big and too cumbersome to keep up with some of the speedy slot receivers, whereas Connor is. But I mean, I could absolutely see the Chiefs in a lot of 4 safety looks, just because they really like, those 2 guys in particular, especially when Andy Reid gets back. And, and Connor, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think him as a corner, even though he's a safety. And the Chiefs have shown no inclination whatsoever about moving him into the cornerback room. I mean, I think he's got the potential to be one of the more versatile safeties in the league if he can handle this workload.
Couple more questions for Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's our Chiefs insider joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Check out Matt's work at ChiefsDigest.com. Find him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. We're going to hear from Felix Anudike-Uzomah a little bit later on in the show as he spoke to the media today in St. Joe. What have you noticed from Felix? Training camp number 2, he remains one of the absolute youngest players on this team, even as he enters his 2nd season. Are you starting to notice maybe some new skill development or just a little bit of an increase in what he might be capable of offering the Chiefs this year?
I think both, and I think you're also just seeing even some maturity and growth as well, and not a knock against him, but I just remember at camp last year, especially in his first media appearance, Felix, there was a lot of laughing, a lot of goofing around, and I don't have a problem with that. I think it's great, and he still has that. I mean, he's a fun guy to have around, and he clearly likes the joke, and the teammates like to have that with him and tease him too, and he gives as good as he gets. But you can see there's more of an edge this year. And I think you can see the work that he did with George Karlaftis and Tamba Hali during the offseason kind of paying some dividends. He does look a little bit quicker. I think his handwork is much improved. We're going to see a lot of that when, the pads are coming on now, and we'll see how physical he can get. And I think he's a little bit stronger than he was. He's definitely, I think, certainly more comfortable than he was a year ago. And he's healthy, which he wasn't a year ago at this time. So I think there's, and Felix could be one of those guys that, we talk about as though, their real breakout year is maybe it won't be until year 3. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player this year. But to your point about just how young he is, I mean, that's kind of one of the benefits that the Chiefs got with him, is that the idea is that there was a big ceiling for him. So I could see him even being a guy that improves a lot and has a good year this year, but there's even more to come in year 3.
Another guy who was with the team last year, not drafted, and had a really intriguing camp right up until preseason game number 1 and then kind of disappeared off the face of the earth, was Deneric Prince, who spent the year last year on the practice squad. This year sounds like he's getting some more opportunity early in camp to run with some of the ones. With Jerick McKinnon not around anymore, there certainly appears to be a roster spot for a running back. Does Deneric Prince maybe look a little different, a little more ready to seize an opportunity to earn a roster spot this year? Chiefs obviously liked him enough to keep him around.
Yeah, I think he looks, honestly, I mean, he reminds me a lot of the Deneric Prince we saw last year. But, what seemed to happen last year was just he hit a wall. And, and that can happen. I mean, sometimes rookies, they hit the rookie wall different times. And I think Deneric, got a lot of work early last year. Remember, Pacheco was in that yellow jersey and for the entire offseason and deep into camp too. And the Chiefs, and Jerick McKinnon was an older guy. They kind of wanted to let off him a little bit. And, Clyde, they're always kind of managing his snap counts a little bit. So Deneric Prince got a ton of work last year in training camp and in the offseason. And I think it just wore him out. I mean, he just seemed to hit the rookie wall earlier than I've ever seen anybody before. And because there's talent there, you see it. I mean, once again, he looks like a kind of guy that absolutely can do things for you. His hands are much better than anybody ever suspected. Last year, he just caught everything that came his way, and they haven't been throwing him the football. They've got more running backs this year. Everybody's healthy, so everybody's kind of getting some touches. But again, every time you see Deneric get the ball in his hands, it looks like he's doing good things with it. And right now, the Chiefs seem to be giving him an opportunity to compete with Clyde for that number 2 spot. And so far, through the first week of camp, he's been getting a lot more opportunities as the number 2 running back than Clyde has.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. He's been in St. Joe all week. Check out his coverage at ChiefsDigest.com. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick, and hear him on the Floating Place Wine Spirits Hotline on 580 Sports Talk every Friday at this time. Matt, always a pleasure. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
That sounds great, guys. Take care, my friends.
Coming up in the next hour, we'll hear from Mahomes and King Felix, plus some Olympics talk and what is wrong with you from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 3 on this Friday afternoon. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with us. Maybe your work week is about wrapping up. Maybe it already has wrapped up. Whatever you're doing on this Friday afternoon, thanks for hanging out with us here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on the video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook, WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is across the table from me. Trenton Kraxner, our producer-engineer, is across the glass from us. Spencer Dupuis is across 2 time zones. No, I guess just one. He's in the east. He's back east. He will return from vacation next week.
Was his concert last night or was it tonight?
I don't remember.
I'm going to have to find out. I have not heard from him all day.
I have not either.
So, I mean, he might just be buried under a pile of cups of free beer he was given last night.
He may have been able to successfully convince some fun folks. He was Luke Combs and had himself a rager.
How are you down here on the... Oh, there's 2 nights of it. I have no idea which one he was.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's a good question. Let's see if we can deduce from the text thread, because he did send us a picture of his tickets, and I cannot find that thread.
Saturday the 27th. Okay. So there actually wasn't one last night. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I thought it was last night tonight. It's actually tonight and tomorrow. He is going to tomorrow's show.
There you go.
I don't think he has enough hits to pull out. I'm going to see Metallica next month.
Okay.
I'm going up to Chicago just quick over the weekend. Best friend and I are going to go see Metallica. They're doing every city they go to. They are doing 2 shows, but they're changing the set list 100% every time. So 2 shows in Chicago, Friday, Sunday, no repeats the whole weekend. So they've got so many hits. They've been around for 40 years. Like, they can do that. I don't know that Luke Combs can do that. I'm going to guess it's a lot of the hits both nights.
Yeah, I don't think the length of the career is quite sufficient for Luke Combs to be able to do 2 fresh shows each night. I don't know. He could rip off some other songs other people did better than him, like Fast Car. He can do more karaoke. I'm sure his fans will be into that.
I also don't think Luke Combs has 17 songs that are 8 minutes or longer, which eats up a lot of concert time. Metallica has 17 of them.
Yeah, and they always make those stretch too.
If you want to include 7 minutes or longer, 35. So
texter from the 316. And by the way, the Top City Mail Supply text line is open for you as well. 785-272-9429 is the Top City Mail Supply text line number. Texter from the 316 says, Metallica concert without Enter Sandman? No thanks.
Wow. They have so many good hits.
They do.
But yes, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to hear Enter Sandman or not. I'm going to check.
You're rolling the dice.
Saturday morning, before I head to the airport and get on a plane, I am going to check setlist.fm and have to see what the playlist was from the night before. And if it says Enter Sandman, well, then I'm not going to get it. If it says 15 songs that aren't Enter Sandman, though, I can guarantee I will get it.
Maybe, yeah, like you'll look, and if it says Saint Anger, you can breathe a sigh of relief.
Wow, they played Saint Anger front to back. They actually brought out a garbage can for Lars Ulrich to drum on.
They must really hate this city.
Wow, poor St. Louis.
Yeah, they got it.
Wow,
Yep.
They're just getting all of Reload. They played Attitude twice. Damn. Brutal.
Wow, they played Unforgiven 2 twice. There's some bleak Metallica albums. Let's just say it. The highs were very high.
Very high. Like, okay, I can tell you the most recent show they played was 12 days ago. They were in Madrid. All right. I told you about this crappy computer earlier. Okay. So they played
firing up the Apple IIe.
They did play Enter Sandman as their final song of the night. So they didn't end up playing that the first night. Second night was great. Opened with Whiplash, For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Ooh, that's a
Fight
good one.
Fire with Fire. Hell yeah. That whips ass. But then the previous show they had done 2 nights prior, they opened that one with Creeping Death, which is my favorite Metallica song. Battery, Seek and Destroy, Master of Puppets. See, I probably would have preferred the first night.
Battery's so good.
Battery is so good. I've never seen them play it live.
How many times have you seen them?
Once.
Okay.
But they didn't play it. So I'm hoping to see that one.
This isn't like you're grateful. You're a deadhead. You've seen him like 28 times.
Every deadhead is like, God, man, I really feel bad. I didn't see him more often. Oh, how many times did you see them? Oh, 44.
Right.
You mean 44? I don't think I've been to 44 concerts, let alone for one band.
It's a lifestyle at that point. It's not really just being a fan of a band. It's just a lifestyle. It's just a part of you.
Respect. Like if you're going to commit to that, respect to you. I don't think I could.
I want to know like who's that, but for like bands that are not as prolific or do not have that kind of fan culture around them as the Deadheads. Like the Oak Ridge Boys are wrapping their career up. They're gonna be at the Prairie Band later on this year. I want to meet the person who's seen like the Oak Ridge Boys 78 times.
Yeah, I would love to see that person. No, like Fish is the same way. Like, oh man, I'm so mad. I missed this Fish show this weekend, but I had a wedding to go to. Oh, when are you going to see them next? Oh, next weekend? And the 4 after that?
I'm following them across the country.
Damn.
From the 785 on the Top Emails Fly text line, I've seen Rush 18 times, every time worth it. Hell yeah. That rocks.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Rush is awesome.
If I heard I've never gotten to see Rush. If I heard Free Will in person, I'd lose my mind.
Little known Dan Lucero fact, we did not have long to have our walk-up songs.
I know this fact.
You do know this fact.
I know this one.
Trent, did you have a walkout song or a warm-up song when you played high school baseball?
No.
Okay. We got to do them for like one game, and then we got beat. We couldn't do them anymore.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was.
I thought this was just like your whole high school career. I didn't know it was one time.
This was once. This is like you were lucky if there was a functioning CD player in the concession stand for pregame warm-up music. Never mind.
Oh man,
getting to have the walkout music. But I did. I had my warm-up song. My warm-up song was "Working Man" by Rush. That was my work.
That's sick. Like that's a great picture song.
It is. It's awesome.
What?
One time. And as you might be able to deduce by the fact that I got to use mine, I pitched that day. We got beat. So
hey, better than if you had
my fault.
Slaved over it for hours. God, I just can't come up with the perfect song and then never got to use it. At least you got to use yours.
This is true. I was very close to using Devil's Dance by Metallica, but
that's a good one.
Ended up with
Isn't that Reload?
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's not all bad.
No, it's Fuel is a great song.
Yeah. Ain't My Bitch is fine. Like we use that as a return bed, I believe.
Yes, we do. Although I have it as Ain't My B ******.
Yeah. That's probably how I should have referred to it too. Coming up later on this hour at 580 Sports Talk, we're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes and Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Both of them spoke to the media after practice today. Insane show.
Vance on YouTube. Luke Combs might do a cover of My Maria.
Boy, that would be a perfect storm of things that would get Dan to walk out of a crowded stadium. I'd pull the fire alarm on the way out.
He has done collaborations with Brooks and Dunn before.
Brooks and Dunn?
I think so. Yeah,
both of them.
I think.
Do they not like each other? Or am
I'm
I
pretty sure
up?
they hate each other.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure I've heard the old rumor mill suggest that Brooks and Dunn can't stand each other.
That's like Hall & Oates. They hate each other.
Yeah, Hall & Oates. Yeah, they don't get along anymore.
Yeah.
Who knows if they ever did?
Maybe not.
They made heat. They made some bangers.
I was gonna say you don't have to be buddies with someone to make yacht rock bangers.
That's a big facts. We're gonna crown a What Is Wrong With You champion for the week later on in this show as well. I came up with a bunch of different ways to refer to our current champion that I'm excited to unveil. I'm excited. I'm as excited for the names as I am for the two new stories. But you may be aware, you may not be. The YouTube live chat is extremely aware. We've been getting live tweets from the opening ceremonies today in the YouTube live chat, which I love. I absolutely love that you folks have had us on while you've been watching the opening ceremonies, which are going to be rerun tonight in their entirety in prime time on NBC. So I don't want to spoil anything, but also they hung the Olympic flag upside down.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, they hung the Olympic flag upside down. You know, there's a big to-do. They raised the flag. That's part of like the official opening of the games, and they raised it upside down. That's not a hard one to get right. 3 rings on top, 2 on the bottom, and they hung it upside down. Tyler's all over that in the live chat on YouTube.
That I was about to say this regardless, but knowing that there's a blooper or a gaffe like that, I really feel this take. You know what would be great for an Olympic opening ceremony? A return of Cheap Seats.
I loved Cheap Seats. That was one of my favorite television shows. I miss ESPN Classic so much.
It's great. As someone whose entire humor, like base of humor and everything I find funny is pretty much based on Mystery Science Theater.
That's what it was.
I also love Cheap Seats. That would be perfect for an opening ceremony.
Yes.
Like making fun of the flag, making fun of the Team USA looking like they're frat pledges.
We want like an alt cast with
Yeah.
somebody funnier than Kevin Hart making jokes.
No, that's for real.
Give me the Sklar brothers. I think they do it if you call. Text from the 785. What are the Olympics in distress? On the flag upside down.
That's tremendous.
That's a good text. So I've been seeing some of the images from the opening ceremony. So they didn't do it in the stadium. This reminds me. Top of the hour news, 3:00 on the CBS News that we run on 580 WIBW. They had people complaining because it rained. I guess it's been raining hard today. Pouring rain. And people have been complaining that they did this opening ceremony outside. Like every other opening ceremony in the history of the Olympics. They've never done one indoors for the summer games. What are we talking about here? Oh, yes, we should have done it in a 20,000-seat arena.
Someone tweeted out for the 28 Olympics in LA, they should take OJ's white Bronco route.
I saw someone else.
Man.
I need to go find this. I mean, if you're trying to talk about great culture of the location. Yeah, this was from Roger Sherman, formerly of a bunch of different websites, including The Ringer. Opening ceremony on the scenic LA River 2028.
Oh, hell
it's
yeah.
Just that like drainage ditch where they filmed the car race scene in Greece.
Yeah.
Among a million other movies.
Among a million other car race scenes.
Yeah.
Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yeah. I always think of Greece because when I was a kid, my sister used to watch it like every day.
I would watch
that movie a lot.
I would watch Gone in 60 Seconds every day. I love that movie.
Where are they going to do it? I mean, down Rodeo?
No, they're just going to do it in the stadium like they've done all of the other ones. They'll do it at the Coliseum.
I feel like you got to go bigger, though.
Yeah, I guess this is a new precedent, right? Like they floated the athletes down the River Seine today. Like you got to top that if you're Los Angeles.
Yeah, you do. What they should do. I'll have to come up with an idea for this. Like a really good place for them to have a true parade of nations.
Call Spielberg. Tell him it's all his. Put it together.
For real, though.
Make it real Hollywood. Yeah. That's in 4 years. The Olympics, the games of the 33rd Olympiad open officially with the lighting of the lighting of the torch. What is that? It's Fairy Friday around here.
Friday.
It got real Friday in a hurry, didn't it? The lighting of the Olympic torch.
In fairness, our notes for this segment are pretty much just like, hey, the Olympics are happening. Let's talk about it. I mean, it's bound to have a segment like this.
Yes.
Also, can we go back to the correct where did it go? I had the correct
pronunciation.
Yeah.
You were going to teach us the French.
I was. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that in the 5 o'clock hour tonight. Where did the full thing go? Les Jeux de la 33 Olympiade, I believe, but I might have missed a word in there. Missed a clause or something in there. I had it up before. Now I lost it. I'll find it again. I'll have a French lesson for you guys today. Don't you worry.
They opened today. It's the first normal Summer Olympics since 2016 because the 2020 Olympics were anything but, as evidenced by the fact that they were held in 2021 and held in mostly empty venues. So we're back to an Olympics, a Summer Olympics that feels like an Olympics. I don't know if I've asked you this before. We've actually never done together like Olympic shows. We've never had the
No.
occasion, you and I, to do like Summer Olympics programming
No.
on 580 Sports Talk. It's just not intersected in that way. So, like, what events are you really in on for the Olympics? Like, which ones do you say, I want to make sure that I get to check this out, or I get to watch these events, or when this is on in prime time, I'm going to make sure I make a little time?
Real quick, I did miss a word. Jeux de la 33 Olympiade. That's what it is in French.
Thank you.
So volleyball is number one. I appreciate beach volleyball, sand volleyball. I think it's amazing, like how much lift you can get as an athlete playing literally on sand. So I'm a fan of that. My jam is indoor though, just traditional 6-on-6 indoor volleyball. That is number one for me. I love it.
I vastly prefer the women's volleyball to the men's. I think the men is just so much power that you just don't see, like,
you don't see a lot of rally.
Yeah, not as much rally
in
the men's game than in the women's game. I remember last year I was up in the mountains. I was on a little mountain golf excursion with a buddy of mine and a few mutual friends. And I remember the volleyball championship match was on like 11:30 Mountain Time live. And we had a bunch of totally tanked 30-somethings watching that match. Like it was the damn Super Bowl. Man, we were going crazy in a little cabin in Winter Park watching that U.S. women win the gold medal back in 2021. So, yeah, I'm in on the volleyball.
Yeah, volleyball is number one for me. The beach or indoor, but I prefer the indoor. I really enjoy the gymnastics. I just think it's incredible. Like the fact that I mostly watch the women because I think it's more entertaining, but the men and women who do it, what they can do in the air is honestly just preposterous. Other like unique ones that are truly just like, you watch them during the Olympics and that's it. I love handball, man. Handball rules. We had when I was in junior high and a little bit in high school, we played handball. Like we were taught the full rules of it. It's an awesome sport, and it's ridiculous the U.S. doesn't have a more competitive program. Like Nathan Scheelhaus, he's the passing game coordinator for the Rams, previous OC for Iowa State and quarterbacks coach at Iowa State. He played football at Illinois. He was a dual threat QB at Illinois. He was on the American handball team at one point.
I remember that.
Why can't we just field a bunch of dudes like that?
Nathan Scheelhaus is a Rockhurst guy, I think.
I believe he is, Kansas City.
Yeah.
He helped them get a lot of those Kansas kids and Kansas City kids to Iowa State. A good recruiter. So I love watching the handball. I think the swimming is a blast. I think that's a lot of fun. A lot of the track stuff.
Big fan of Katie Ledecky.
She's stud.
In the distance races, beating everybody so bad that they're not even on the screen with her by the end of the race. That rules.
Insane.
The 400 is going to be really good. She lost the 400 in 2021.
I remember that.
Titmus from Australia beat her. So they're gonna duke it out again in the 400 this year. I think that's early. I think that's one of the first. No, that's tomorrow night.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that'll be in primetime tomorrow night. The man to women's 400 freestyle final is tomorrow. That's gonna be one of the first medal events of the games.
So I would say those are the ones that I always like. I'm going to make sure those are in the DVR. That's the nice thing about YouTube TV, that unlimited DVR.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. So those are things I make sure I've got to watch, but I'll watch damn near anything. Basketball in 21 was on at such like awkward Brendan hours that I actually watched more of it than I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-on-3 is weird. Not bad, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Because they have some unique rules for it, but I'll pretty much watch all of them. Oh, cycling, the speed cycling.
Okay.
The indoor, the velodrome stuff. Yeah. That also weird, but very fun.
Water polo.
Water polo is a good
very
one.
elite sport.
Water polo is very cool. I enjoy the water polo. I watch a lot more of the men's basketball because it's more competitive now. Like,
that's fair.
Like all of the games are really good.
Totally fair.
And it's a challenge for the United States to win the gold medal.
Yeah.
And I will absolutely watch them play Serbia tomorrow. I'll watch that live. I'll watch. I'll see how my guy Jokic fares against Team USA. He's going to give Embiid the work. He's finally going to play against Embiid.
Is that on TV?
Yeah.
I would imagine it would be on some kind of TV.
It might be on Peacock.
If it's not on Peacock, I'd be really surprised.
They put a lot of the basketball on Peacock last year.
Yeah.
Or last time. Do you have another like favorite
live on NBC?
Like a true Olympic sport?
Like Olympic sport. Okay, I'm glad you clarified because, like, I like to watch the golf. Like, I watched a lot of the golf at the 2021 games.
Sure.
Really enjoyed that. And now it's like with both Scheffler and Schauffele having such great years, and they're both in the Olympics, it'll be kind of fun. Schauffele's a defending Olympic champion. So that'll be cool. I'll check out the equestrian, if only to see if somebody finally does their horse dancing routine to Day No by Shorty Low, which I have been asking for many, many years and have yet to see. The rowing is cool. Like, I don't know. Maybe
I do like rowing.
Maybe that's because I just watched Boys in the Boat not too long ago, but I'm kind of hyped for some rowing for the men's eights.
That's pretty funny.
But and then, of course, the track. I like the sprinting events. Those are my favorite when it gets to the track. They always do. They front load it with the swimming, and they do the track week 2. And some of the best American athletes, most interesting American athletes, Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson, are going to be when the track rolls around. KU's Bryce Hoppel in the 800.
I cannot wait. He's gotten better and better as a pro. He's got a world championship gold medal now. I'm so excited to see him in the 800. By the way, men's basketball, the Serbia versus USA game is going to be on USA.
How about that?
So, that'll be on basic cable.
I saw NBC, too.
Oh, will they have it on NBC, too?
Oh, are they running in primetime
tomorrow?
Well, maybe.
Oh, yes. It's going to be on.
Is it USA Live and then NBC?
No, the other way around. They're going to have it at 10:15 a.m. live, and then it's going to air on USA at 4 o'clock.
So there'll be a lot of that because of the time zone difference. But a lot of the big events, they'll be going on like while you're awake. They'll just be happening in the morning. So
fine by me.
Yeah, no kidding. I have a 7-week-old at home. I will absolutely. I've been watching so much rugby. You can't even believe it. The first gold medal of the games, by the way, will be awarded in the mixed 10-meter air rifle and the women's synchronized 3-meter springboard diving. Those will both be going on at the same time. The gold medal.
Ooh, I like diving too. That's a good one. Games I don't like. Okay, here's the reverse of it. Synchronized swimming. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's weird.
Creepy and weird, and I don't like it. So that's out. I would also say of the gymnastics events, because again, I like to watch a lot of those. I think it's really entertaining. For the women, the floor routine, not really for me. It's more of the artistic part of it. It's fine, not for me. You know what's stupid? The trampoline. Dumb. Very dumb.
I remember the first time they did the trampoline in the Olympics, and I think the guy that won the gold, his name was Dong Dong.
Come on, man. Here's a trivia question for you, okay? Since the bringing back the Olympics, since they were reestablished in 1896, there have been 4 sports that have been featured at every single summer Olympiad. Can you name the 4?
Athletics. So
track and field.
Track and field. Athletics.
That's one of them.
Not wrestling, because it did leave the Olympics for a year there, didn't it?
It did. Freestyle wrestling, it took a couple to get started. It was only at 2 of the first 6 Olympiads, and then
they tried to punt it out with like baseball and softball. And
yes.
I think it stayed in boxing. Would boxing be one?
Boxing is not one of them. It has been in most, but not all.
So athletics, the marathon, is that part of athletics?
That's part of athletics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are the other 3?
Swimming. Gymnastics and fencing.
Fencing. The most corrupt of these sports.
Absolutely. Track cycling has been in all but 1. For some reason, they took it out in 1912. And rowing has been in all since 1900. It wasn't in 1896.
With that, we're going to take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll have some more Olympics discussion, including a French lesson from Monsieur Dwezinski a little bit later on in the program.
Listen, it sounds better in French than it does in Polish. I'll tell you that much.
We'll do that. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes and Felix Anudike-Uzomah later this hour as well. But first, a weekly champion will be crowned on What Is Wrong With You. Coming up next from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time here on 580 Sports Talk? Dan, Brendan, Trenton here with you. We're going to crown a weekly champion on What is Wrong with You. These two new stories today have a tough act to follow. Yesterday's champion, our current weekly winner, the TikTok tither, a.k.a. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8. That reads, will a mere mortal rob God? A.k.a. render unto TikTok the things that are TikToks. A.k.a. thou shalt subscribe for more tips. A.k.a. when you give to the TikTok creators, sound no trumpet before you. The 35-year-old church employee, Kristen Marie Batacletti, that stole $300K from a Catholic church from God, spent $80,000 on personal expenses and $220,000 on something called TikTok coins to send digital gifts to TikTok content creators. You know, I've heard about the concept of Catholic guilt, and I kind of think that's what we're seeing on display in this story to a rather absurd degree. Anyway, that is our current winner on What is Wrong with You. We have two new stories today. I'm going to start with mine. And honestly, I don't know if this is a What is Wrong with You or if this guy's awesome. This is to Joplin, Missouri, where on Thursday, just after 11:15 a.m., there were reports of a crash into the wooded area on the northwest sections of I-44 and South Main Street. There was a Jeep Grand Wagoneer far off into the trees. The SUV was traveling west on I-44, took the off-ramp to South Main very fast, left the ramp, jumped both northbound lanes of Main, landed, and then ramped off the southbound lanes into the trees, a distance measured by KOAM at roughly 575 feet.
Jeez.
The male driver was transported to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
I cannot believe a Jeep survived that.
Jeep Grand Wagoneer just launched himself off a ramp. How many times do you figure he has driven over that and thought, you know what? What if? What if?
Do you ever do that?
No. I've never done it. He just said, full send. Hell with it.
Well, I'm not saying you've done it, but just like, I could jump off this bridge. I'd like, in Chicago, you know, they've got the drawbridges that go over over the Chicago River. I've seen them go up before, and I've been down there, and I thought, you know, if I went really fast, I bet I could jump this. Maybe that's just what he was feeling.
He just floored it, jumped it nearly 600 feet. You know, conveniently for him, I'm actually looking at a map of Joplin, Missouri. The trees that he ended up landing in, right across I-44 is Mercy Hospital. So if you're going to do it, you're going to do something stupid, at least do it that close to a hospital.
You want a little teaser for our French lesson next hour?
Yes.
The call of the void in French, where that term originated, l'appel du vide.
I like it.
My story today is a pretty simple one. Do you remember, for those of us who were, you know, really growing up in the internet era of like the early 2010s, remember the old meme? It was an image of Exhibit from Cribs. And it just said
Cribs. It was Pit My Ride.
Oh, Pit My Ride, not Cribs.
Yeah, it was Pit My Ride.
Cribs.
There wasn't a host of Cribs.
Okay.
It was just
it was from Pit My Ride.
People who had the crib hosted the Cribs.
Yes, I guess that's true. Anywho, Exhibit from Pit My Ride. And it was just a picture of his face laughing with text on it that was like, yo, dog, I heard you loved cars. Well, I put a car in your car, so now you can drive your car while you drive your car.
That was the whole thing. Yo, I heard you really like fish. We threw a fish tank in your trunk. Like, this isn't even street legal. How am I supposed to put this on the road? Why did you put a fish tank in the back of my 1960 Edsel?
Yo, I heard you like, yo, dog, heard you like watching sports. We put a 48-inch TV in your front seat.
Yo, son, the back of your van is a bowling alley. What? Pit My Ride ruled. I loved that show.
So in the spirit of that, my story today is called Yo Dog, I heard you liked resisting arrest, so we had you resist arrest while getting a warrant for resisting arrest. We're headed to Vero Beach, Florida, where a man who was already wanted on a resisting arrest warrant was taken into custody, but not before he tried escaping from the officers who were there to detain him. According to a probable cause affidavit, the Indian River County Sheriff's Office wanted to catch Gordon Wanzer. So deputies arranged with his probation officer to put together a ruse to find him. The probation officer contacted Wanzer on Wednesday and told him that she wanted to set up a meeting, according to the sheriff's office. The affidavit stated that Wanzer said he was not at home and they should meet at Lowe's Home Improvement Store. After Wanzer arrived, a sheriff's detective got out of an unmarked vehicle wearing a sheriff's office shirt. Wanzer spotted the detective and took off running with 2 other detectives in pursuit, yelling at him to stop. A taser eventually brought Wasner down, but as he kept resisting officers who tried to cuff him, or he did try to, keep resisting officers who tried to cuff him. Eventually, he was subdued, and one of the detectives brought him some water. He took a few sips and then spotted a gap between the 5 deputies who were surrounding him and again tried to take off running. Before long, though, he was finally detained and put into a patrol vehicle. The affidavit noted the original warrant issued after Wanzer fled out the back when a DEA officer came to his home with a federal search warrant. He is accused of being part of a large-scale drug trafficking organization.
Boy, if the Alphabet Boys came and showed up to my house, I would be resisting that arrest too.
Yeah, okay. I'm going down. Might as well go down with a fight, right?
I think that wins today. I'm leaning in agreement with our texter from the 785 that said the guy who jumped the ramp on I-44 is actually awesome. Not really a what is wrong with you story.
You ever play the game Rush? Video game or Rush 2 by chance?
Vaguely remember it.
Like the whole point of the game is you are street racing and then you just go off random ramps like in the middle of San Francisco and do sick tricks. He was just trying to do that. He just grew up on the N64.
Yeah,
I respect it.
So your arrest resistor wins today, but I don't think it's beating the TikTok tither. That's an incredible story.
No. That story wins.
Yes, that one maybe has the staying power. That
Get
is
a job.
Malachi chapter 3, verse 8. Look it up. That's our What Is Wrong With You winner for the week. When we come back, we'll hear from QB1 and King Felix from Cheese Camp earlier today from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. 4:43 on 580 Sports Talk. We got some more Chiefs training camp audio for you. Patrick Mahomes spoke to the press. He talks about a lot of different things like football, yeah, but also his road to glory mode on College Football 25, and Bobby Witt Jr. comes up in conversation as well. Plus, he does address that viral video from Raiders camp. Without any further ado, here's Patrick Mahomes.
So far after first day of practice.
Yeah, I thought he had a good day today. First day in pads, first day, third and long, Spags bringing his blitzes. I thought he did a good job. I mean, obviously, I haven't got to see the tape yet, but for the most part, man, he's getting better every day, and that's all you can ask for with a young guy.
First team period going deep was, I think, 7 out of 8 times you did that. Then checked out Hollywood between. Just how would you assess that deep route and how it's just formulating all those guys?
Yeah, it's getting better and better. Obviously, we missed on some today. We've hit on some earlier in camp, but that's what we're doing it for. We're out here to practice, try to shoot the ball down the field. By going against one of, not the best defense in the National Football Leagues with Spags in them. And so I thought guys have done a great job of building, and we'll continue to get better and better with building chemistry as camp goes on.
With Remigio, you got to know him a little bit now. Mm-hmm. What is it, some of the coaches have been saying that they're rooting for you. What's it like? What's it working that makes him one of those guys that you want to root for?
Yeah, he just works extremely hard. He's always asking the right questions, always wants to get extra work. And that's what you want is true pro. And so he just comes to work every single day with a smile on his face. He wants to work hard and get better and better. And it's not like he's going out there and hating on someone else, man. He wants everybody to get better with him. And I think that's why everybody loves him in that room. And he's seen the positive signs coming every single day, and he continues to get better.
Patrick, great players use things that are around just as motivation.
Yeah.
I know you've probably seen the video of the Raiders with the Muppet of you. Is that something that you kind of compartmentalize and use when you get ready to play them?
Yeah, I mean, it's still early in the year. Kind of stuff like that happens. It'll get handled when it gets handled.
Did a ton of people send that to you to make sure you're aware of it?
Not really, honestly. Everybody kind of just lets me play. I mean, they know how I am, so they don't need to send me anything to keep me motivated.
This seems like a wide receiver group overall, and specifically getting Hollywood Brown out there in the first.
Yeah, I think what impressed me so much about Hollywood is everybody told me he was a fast guy, but everyone told me like how much he can actually do on the football field, and you could see it. I mean, he can run those over the middle routes. He can run really good routes, and he can run deep. It's not like fast is the only thing that he can do, and you've seen that really transpire over these last few days of practice, and he keeps getting better and better. And as well as the other receivers, you just see the speed that we have and how it's opening up everybody. And then even seeing Rashid and how he's kind of taking that next step. I mean, it's a great group that all mesh well together. And so I'm excited for their future because, the sky is the limit.
What is the progress you've seen so far with Rashid? Just maybe even working him more, obviously downfield, knowing he's such a good guy running out of the cap.
Yeah, I know. It's he was making that progress at the end of last year. I think you saw that in the playoffs. And now he's just continued to get better and better. I think he came into camp this year even in better shape. You've been able to see how much explosion he has catching the football down the field. And then obviously when he catches the football underneath, he's getting upfield fast. I think it's going to help him a ton, just like it's going to help Trav having those speed guys stretching the field, and then they can really work in that intermediate, medium range, and then they can catch the ball and get yak after.
Something that you saw that he worked on in the offseason was his route tree and being able to stretch the field.
Yeah, I mean, him and Hollywood it's like they're just together all the time. And so you always see those videos of them working out. That's not even all. I mean, they're always together. They're always working on routes. They push each other to be great. It's been cool to see his game evolve, being around another vet receiver like that. And I'm excited for him, man. I mean, he's taking ownership of kind of being that older. I mean, he's only 1 year late, but being one of the older guys in that room with all these young guys coming in with the most experience. And so I'm excited for him to get out there and kind of show what he's truly capable of.
Actually, a couple seasons ago when the wide receiver position went through a transition after the departure of Tyreek Hill, you had mentioned your wide receivers were going to be like a committee type of coach. What is your approach this year with this group that you have? Would you like to see one guy be that guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be necessarily just one guy, but I think we got a lot of explosive guys that a lot of different guys are going to have big games, but it's going to be the same few guys that are going to be those lead candidates with other guys that will step in and make plays happen. Obviously, we got Trav. Rashid's going to be another guy that works over the middle, and then I think Hollywood's going to do a great job of that. And then obviously with Xavier, I think as the season goes on, he's going to get even better and better. And you can already see the talent. I mean, y'all saw the catch, obviously that went viral, but just running routes and doing all different type of stuff. Another guy that's not just a speed guy, but someone that plays tough, runs great routes. And so he's did a great job of getting a lot of great receivers in there. And I don't think it's going to be hard for teams to kind of game plan one guy because we have a lot of guys that can go out there and have big games.
It is early, but how's the defensive secondary playing you guys? How are they playing so far?
They're playing good. Obviously, I think at the beginning when you have no pads and we had a lot of fast guys, we surprised them a little bit with the speed that we had. But, I mean, they adjusted well. And as the pads come on, they're being a little bit more physical, and that's what we want. I mean, we want to play against the best, and that's what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And, I mean, Trent, man's good. Man's really good. And I try him. I always tell him I'm going to try him like once or twice a day. And y'all seen he's got me a couple of times, and I've gotten over him. But that's what makes great players great players.
Patrick, what has stood out to you about Bobby Witt's emergence these last few weeks particularly?
Yeah, I haven't really talked to Bobby about this a lot, but it seems like every year he kind of starts playing better at this time of the year and finishes really strong. And I've always thought, I'm like, what if he just starts fast and then see what happens? And that's what he did this year. And I think he's always had this stretch where he kind of goes run, but this is even another level. And so I love how he's led those guys. I mean, it's fun to watch those guys play. I think that's a cool thing is that you can go to the K and watch a team that loves baseball, plays hard every single day, and loves each other and all friends. And that's cool to see on a baseball field.
Kind of parallel in what you've done for the Chiefs with what maybe he hopes to do, or
I see the mindset. I mean, just from talking to Bobby and the little conversations that I have, and I text him every once in a while. He wants to be great, and he wants to be great here, and he wants to take Kansas City to the top. And I mean, he knows the tradition that they've had in 2015 winning the World Series, and he wants to get back there. And in football, I got brought into a great situation. He had to kind of grow up with these guys, and I think it's been cool to see all those guys grow together and kind of put their stamp on the game this year.
Patrick, you said you brought a TV up here. One of the reasons was to play college football 25.
Yeah.
How much have you played, and have you led Texas Tech to a national championship yet?
No, we didn't win the national championship in year one. I'm in year two now. I chose 4-star because I had to be realistic. I couldn't do a 5-star, and it took me a while to become the starter, but we got a nice bowl win against Florida. And now we're in our second season. We actually have a big game against Kansas State tonight.
Felix though?
Felix, I don't know if Felix knows. I got a big game against Kansas State on my road to glory. I'm sorry in advance.
Patrick, in the run game, I mean, we see y'all running power and mix and stretch, calls and everything. Just what's the goal for the run game?
Yeah, the goal is to even improve on what they did last year. I mean, we have a lot of great players on the offensive line, and obviously a great running back with Isaiah, and a great running back room with Clyde coming in, and then all this competition that we have. And I think it's to improve on what we did last year, keep making those steps in the right direction. And then hopefully if we can get the pass game stretching the field, downfield even more, it'll improve the run game. That's what's going to make us a great offense, hopefully. It's a lot of reps, a lot of meetings. I mean, that's with everybody, and especially with those new guys. And I just like how they work. They've worked so far. I mean, those guys we talked to the meetings the right way. After every rep, you see me talking to those guys on the sideline, and we're getting on the same page. And all those guys have made stuff happen. You've seen Wiley make plays, you've seen Worthy make plays, and obviously you've seen Hollywood make plays. And I think it's going to be great to just incorporate those guys in the offense.
Patrick Mahomes speaking earlier today at training camp. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, you heard Patrick have a little exchange with him about the college football video game. He also spoke to the media today. Here's King Felix.
Tell us a little bit about what Tamba is, how he's helped you, and what that experience has been like.
It basically just gave me motivation just to – with his knowledge of the game and how he had so much success in his years at Kansas City Chiefs, he basically just bestowed that knowledge on me and just been helping me and George get our game better, get offs and hand work and stuff like that.
Just year one to year two, you transition, kind of learning the game last year, but now in year two, how do you feel you can take it to the next level?
I'm just learning a lot this year. I learned it from the vets. I'm happy to get back out here and be better.
What are your early impressions going up against
Kingsley? He's a good tackle. Obviously, he's a rookie, so I mean we're gonna go at it all the time. So, but he's a good tackle. He's very physical, and I'm excited to get to work with him more.
I know you guys circle this day so much because it's the first day of pads, but what's the best part about the first pad practice? What's the most difficult part about this particular day?
Best part is basically it's like game mode, but the most difficult part is it's really just the first day. Just knock the rust off, getting more physical instead of doing just patty caking anything, and we get to actually go hands on and collide. So yeah.
What you said that she saw that you get off as much better and she was more confident coming into this camp. Is that what you felt there?
Yeah, I felt I've been working with that all off season because. Just talking with some of my talking with some of my coaches, that was a major thing I had to work on my offseason. So I got work outside of Chiefs facility. Got work with Tamba. Just make sure I get off the straight so I can be ready for this season.
How do you prove that?
Just basically just work. I work with Tamba. Like, I don't know how to answer that question. Like, just training, just get off the day and stuff like that. And sorry.
Is it kind of like a track?
Yeah, it's like sorry. That's hard to explain what I do, but I mean, it's basically like a routine what I do during the off season. So yeah.
How you train?
We work with Tamba. We do hand work every time I go to his house and with George and stuff like that. I do hand work with George, and then also I train down in Tampa. I work with some other D linemen, and we do hand work down there. So yeah.
How much different was it this last season, just being healthy, being able to get against Soldier like that?
Being more healthy, just more confidence basically on my body. So without having any setbacks. So that's gave me more confidence to do what I need to do.
You had a big moment at the Super Bowl. I wondered, was that a confidence-building moment for you? Something you can carry into this year?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a confidence booster. I mean, it's what you dream of your whole life. Is to do things on the biggest stage of your life. So, I mean, it was a huge confidence builder. It showed like I could compete with those guys, and yeah.
Last year, the whole process of you being the hometown kid, being drafted, and being here, I know you mentioned a lot of pressure last year. Has that felt like it's lessened this go around?
At the end of the day, I'm here to work. This is my job. So at the end of the day, like that's last year's last year. I'm just focused on what I got to do this year. So yeah.
Last year, Stephen in the name.
Patrick said he's got a big game against Kansas State tonight on his road to glory on College Football 25. Will you go to his room, try to distract him, or
Listen, I don't need to go to his room at all. He already knows Kansas State, how many times we beat Texas Tech. So like he knows that it's going to be a big pressure. So we already talked about that. Like he already knows it. He doesn't need to talk to media about it because he already knows the outcome. So yeah.
Close it out, man.
Having some time to reflect on your rookie season, what do you feel was most valuable? What you went through?
So I just want to put that season behind me. I'm focused on this season. I want to focus on what I could do this season for the future and try to get a three-peat.
That was Felix Anudike-Uzomah speaking to the media earlier today. I love that Patrick Mahomes said, yeah, on my road to glory, I made myself a 4-star because I had to be realistic. That's still better than he actually was regarded by the recruiting services. He was a 3-star. And now he's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Stars matter, but they don't always matter.
No, they don't always get it right, those recruiting services. That's going to do it for this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Come on back for the final hour with us. We got headlines. We got a weekend Cubs-Royals preview and so much more from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Final hour of the day, final hour of the week here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Trenton Kraxner hanging out with you until 6 o'clock tonight. And we'll have a little overtime as well. Lead you up to Royals baseball at 6:30. We appreciate you rocking with us. One more hour of the show today here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And on the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, on the Facebook page, WIBW News. For those who are listening on the radio, you just heard an Olympic update from Westwood One. We'll have those throughout the Summer Games in Paris. So if you were watching on video and wondering, hey, this hour started later than usual, what was up with that? Well, that was what was up with that. So just to let you folks know, that will be part of the show moving forward throughout the Olympics.
Love that. I love the Olympics, man. I understand there are problems with them. I understand that there is a lot of bribery. There is a lot of shady business. I understand that the building of Olympic venues is not always exactly
humane.
That's a good word for it. I love the Olympics. I think they are, at least in theory, like a lot of things, probably better in theory than in practice a lot of times. But bringing together the whole world to celebrate athletics, to celebrate greatness, to bring people together, I think it's amazing. And frankly, if you said we're just going to rotate between 5 sites, I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, like the cities with the infrastructure to do it.
Like, I am sorry to the people of Brazil for saying this. The Olympics absolutely under no circumstances should have been put in Rio de Janeiro.
No.
Very, very bad idea. Just like the World Cup should not have gone to Qatar. Just a terrible idea. I would say, although, do you remember watching the Team USA play in the World Cup in Qatar before the K-State versus TCU Big 12 Championship
I remember
game?
them losing their knockout game to the Netherlands. Yes.
That was our pregame entertainment there. Anywho, like, okay, the U.S., Athens, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to give me Paris?
London.
I think Tokyo did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, hard to know because COVID.
Nobody came, but yeah, like Tokyo could handle it. Like, yeah.
Berlin, somewhere in Germany.
Could probably handle it.
They could probably handle it.
Yeah.
That's good. Maybe Italy. Like,
Rome. Rome's got them 2032, I believe.
No, they do not. You know where they're going in 2032?
They just did this, didn't they?
Home of the Lions. Brissy, old Brisbane town. I gotta go. Like, I have to
make
go.
the pilgrimage.
Dude, I bet they put Aussie rules football as an exhibition sport.
Oh, that would be sick.
I gotta go.
Do any other countries play Australian rules football is the question.
I bet you could get an Irish team because Gaelic rules football is very similar. Not completely the same. They actually in the past have done in like an all Australian team versus an all Irish team or like club versus club. And they'll just kind of blend the rules. They're very similar. You could get a U.S. team. They'd lose by 1 billion, but you could. There is a U.S. league of Australian rules football. The final scores are always like 25-12, whereas in Australia, teams score 90 plus regularly.
That's true.
Kind of a gross version of the game, but you could do it. There used to be a Kansas City team, in fact.
Huh.
So yeah,
did not know that.
I gotta get.
I thought Rome was getting an Olympics. Maybe they're getting a Winter Games.
They might be. We found out this week. We missed it in headlines earlier in the week, but the Winter Games are coming back to the U.S. too.
Yeah, Salt Lake City's going to have them again.
Yeah, which apparently only like one other nation or maybe no other nations actually bid for them.
So the Winter Games are the only ones in the modern era to have ever been awarded to a host city who promptly said, you know what? No thanks. Do you know that story?
I feel like I did at one point, but I don't know the details.
It was
now.
1976, and it was Denver who was awarded the Winter Games, and the citizens of Denver said, no, we're not going to fund this. We're not going to shut our city down to fund the construction. And this is like 1976 Denver in 2024. Summer is different in Australia. That's how
that's true.
That's how the Sydney games were a few years back, right? 2000 was the Sydney games.
Yes.
And those were like in November.
Yeah, that's true. 26 Winter Olympics. Those are going to be in Milan.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Milan, along with Cortina d'Ampezzo.
Sure. Absolutely.
When I went to Italy, I was there for about a week when I was studying abroad. Like French-speaking countries. So when I went to Belgium, Switzerland, France, I could get by. I could speak enough French that I could get by. Italy, I learned grazie, which is thank you. Di nada, which is you're welcome. Similar to Spanish. And oh my God, what's the other one? The ham. What's ham?
Jamon?
No.
Prosciutto?
Prosciutto.
I don't know, man. I can't read your mind.
You were pretty close. Is that what it is in Spanish?
What? Jamon?
Ham.
Yeah.
Okay. In French, it's jambon.
Jambon?
So, yeah, they're pretty similar.
Okay.
But, yeah, I went to Italy. I learned like 3 words.
See, jamon is ham, and jabon in Spanish is soap.
Oh.
So, yeah, you got to get those 2 straight.
Similarly, in French, jambon is ham, jambe is leg. So it's a very common, like, first-year French student thing to accidentally call someone's legs hams or call someone's ham a leg.
These hams deserve a trophy, you might say. We got French lessons with Monsieur Dewzinski. I tried to make,
I tried to make one more word to the list.
I'm going to make it even more. I tried to make it even more French and blew it. But that's coming up later on this hour. Also, a preview of the Brendan Dworzynski Bowl on the Diamond this weekend. The Royals hosting the Chicago Cubs for a 3-game series starting tonight. But first, we'll start the 5 o'clock hour the way we always do with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we begin today with something we mentioned back in the 2 o'clock hour. Kansas State men's basketball has released its full non-conference schedule. We do not have game times, only game dates. But I got to be honest with you, if you're a season ticket holder and you plan to go to and pay for tickets to all of the home games at Bramlage Coliseum, I think you'd be a little underwhelmed with where your ticket money is going with this particular non-conference schedule. There will be an exhibition game against the Tigers of Fort Hays State on October 29th. Will this be the first time they've played since that game?
They may have had another exhibition. That was 2020. That was the 20 and 21 season. Let me go back and research. They may have had another one since then.
So they play.
Someone's going to get a flashback, though.
Yeah, no kidding. God, I could not believe that happened. Fort Hays State finished like 7th in the MIAA that year.
And they got hammered.
Yes, no, the game was never close.
Wasn't close.
It's not like some kid from Hayes threw in a buzzer beater to upset Kansas State. No, they controlled that game from start to finish.
Goodness gracious.
They should have.
They should have.
In retrospect, that was it for Bruce Weber. There was never going to recover from that.
No.
Anyway, the regular season opener for K-State will be at home Tuesday, November 5th against the Privateers of New Orleans.
Oh, so you are correct. It is the first game since then.
Followed by Cleveland State at home Saturday, November 9th. LSU, a return game for the home and home. They were in Baton Rouge last year. This year, they'll be in Manhattan, November 14th. That's another Thursday. Then a Tuesday night against Mississippi Valley State before heading out to the Paradise Jam, which we've already talked about that field. It's less than imposing. They played George Washington in their first-round game November 22nd. Then back stateside for Arkansas Pine Bluff at home December 1st. That's a Sunday. Then a Saturday trip to the big city to play St. John's. That's December 7th. That's part of the final Big East Big 12 battle.
Think that one will go to MSG or they'll play that one at Carnesecca?
I'd like to think they play it at MSG.
They probably will. Most of St. John's big games they put there.
K-State's got some good, some good karma Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's true.
Marquise Noel lit up the Garden. They got
That's
some good
very
memories there. Then a little bit of time off for finals before the Wildcat Classic, Saturday, December 17th against Drake. And the non-conference wraps up with a road game, a true road game at Charles Koch Arena against Wichita State, Saturday, December 21st. As we discussed earlier, the final 3 games of this are good. They're going to be a good test.
Yeah.
I bet Drake brings a good crowd to the T-Mobile Center. That should be a good atmosphere. The game at Wichita State is going to be an awesome atmosphere and a tough one to play in, a good challenge for K-State, even if I don't think Wichita State's going to be super good this year.
Mm-hmm. Good warm-up for Big 12 play.
Absolutely. The front of the schedule blows, and that's really disappointing. But again, it's not about playing good teams. If you are not one of the best teams in the country, if you are not a team that knows beyond a shadow of a doubt when you walk into your first practice, we are going to the NCAA tournament, and there's only like 10 teams that can say that going into any given year. The goal now is not to beef up or front load your schedule, especially if you're playing in the toughest college basketball conference in the country. No, your goal is to stack up wins and stack up blowout wins to impress the metrics. And that is clearly what Kansas State's aim is by playing in the Paradise Jam, by playing this weak sauce home non-conference schedule. They're just trying to get some beatdowns under their belt and make sure that they can go into Big 12 play with no blemishes. That is the goal. And again, you got to play the game because everybody else is doing the same thing.
Yeah. It just stinks. Like if I'm a K-State fan, you said this earlier, Dan, I'm mad that I'm paying for this in my season tickets. Let me ask you a question. Where did Arkansas Pine Bluff finish in KenPom this past season?
I'm going to guess it started with a 3.
331. There are 362 teams. They finished 331. Where did New Orleans finish?
I'm going to guess it started with a 3.
342. Even worse. Where did Mississippi Valley State finish?
Once again, I'm going to hazard a guess. It began with a 3.
362. Out of 362, they won the fewest games of any team in the country. They went 1-30 last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because we had those really excited announcers when they did finally win a game.
Yeah.
Mississippi Valley State has a 1-game winning streak.
Love those dudes.
I love them, too. I hope they're coming to town November. We got to get those guys on.
Oh, we really should. Yeah, we should get those guys on.
We got to do it.
I get it. I understand. Trenton, you said it perfectly earlier. Don't hate the player, hate the game. The net rankings have made this a viable strategy. I am of the belief, though, in real ball, and I believe if you want to be treated like the program that we think K-State is and can and should be, you got to schedule like it. You can't schedule Mississippi Valley State. You just can't. And I know Mississippi Valley State will go play anyone anywhere because this game is going to help fund their athletic department for a year. So I don't want to hate on Mississippi Valley State for it. You got to play better games than this. Factor in, like, if they were the midseason tournament they played last year, where was that? In the Bahamas?
I think that's right.
Like, okay, Providence, Miami. There were good programs that were there.
Yeah, wasn't it Atlantis?
No, it wasn't Atlantis. It was
some other thing in a ballroom.
Like, that's fine. Totally cool. You're playing George Washington in the first round and then either Liberty or Louisiana in the second. Come on. We got to do a little bit better than that.
That's tough.
Come on. All right, first headline for me today. The hot stove is hot.
Sizzling.
On fire. Ow. I am burned because the stove is so hot. Here are some trades, a long list of them that have been consummated or in the process of being consummated since we went off the air yesterday. They include, I'm going to go in as best chronological order as I can here. The Arizona Diamondbacks. They sent 2 prospects to the Miami Marlins for left-handed relief pitcher A.J. Puck. It looks like puke, but with no E at the end of it.
He doesn't pitch like it. In fact, I know their left-handed closer, Tanner Scott, is getting a lot of trade attention, including from the Royals. But I think Puck might be their best left-handed reliever.
I think that's a win.
He was.
I think that's a win-win trade, honestly. D-backs are going to try to make another second-half push, and the Marlins are not going anywhere.
Right.
So go add 2 decent prospects, which is what the Marlins did. Late last night, you probably missed this because you were deep in REM sleep. The Seattle Mariners have acquired Randy Arozarena from the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a name we brought up a lot as a target for the Royals, although maybe not a super realistic one.
So the thing about the Mariners, they're the vibes team in Major League Baseball, at least in the American League, more so than maybe any other team. Like when they're good, it's because the vibes are good.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, they made the playoffs. Julio Rodriguez was awesome. And so the vibes were really, really good. This year, Julio Rodriguez has kind of stunk. And the vibes have not been good. It's a terrible offense. It's the worst offense in baseball.
It's gross.
It's an awesome pitching staff. They just need a little bit of offense to really be a threat to win the American League West. Randy's going to give them that, and tremendous vibes guy.
Yep.
Tremendous vibes guy. The vibes guy of vibes guys.
He's a fun player.
Not official, but the Astros are in on Jack Flaherty of the Tigers and Eric Fetty of the White Sox. They've spoke with both of those teams, according to
John Morosi, I know, had
Morosi put
the
both that
Astros
out.
Tigers news. I did see that. I have that pulled up.
Back to the other moves.
Trade real quick. Trade him. Get rid of him. Tigers, get rid of everybody. Fire sale. Don't bring anybody back. And that future depends on it. All right, other trades that have gone down already. Let's just get to that other Mariners one earlier this afternoon. They also acquired reliever Yimi Garcia.
Jimmy.
Oh, it's Jimmy. Okay.
Yes. Jimmy Garcia.
I only knew him from MLB The Show, to be frank with you. So
That's fine.
have been saying wrong.
They got him from the Blue Jays. He's good.
Yeah, he's very good player. I know that again from MLB The Show. Other deals that have gotten done. James Paxton is going back to Boston where he pitched last year. The Dodgers DFA'd him earlier in the week. They're sending him back to the Boston Red Sox. The Philadelphia Phillies acquired outfielder Austin Hayes from Baltimore in exchange for relief pitcher Seranthony Dominguez and outfielder Christian Pache. And the Baltimore Orioles have also acquired, who they traded one player away. They're acquiring another one, pitcher Zach Eflin from Tampa Bay. So the Rays have dumped a couple of decent players here in the last 24 hours or so. And we are still 5 days away from the actual MLB trade deadline, 5 o'clock Central Time on what will be July 31st next Wednesday. So we'll probably have some breaking news right as we start headlines next Wednesday.
Yeah, the trades have certainly accelerated here in the last 24 hours, and it would be a big shock if there weren't a lot more to talk about coming up on Monday. Some NFL notes for my next headline. The New England Patriots have agreed to a 3-year contract extension with their star safety, Jabril Peppers, a 3-year deal that will keep Peppers in New England. The deal is for, digging this up, a base value of $24 million can be worth up to $30 million over the course of those 3 seasons. So a new deal for Jabril Peppers. The Lions need a new kicker. Michael Badgley injured his hamstring, tore his hamstring at camp. That's going to cause him to miss the entirety of the regular season. A former Chief in the news, Isaiah Buggs. You may remember he was being charged with like every crime ever, and finally the Chiefs decided to release him. He has been sentenced by a judge to 1 year of hard labor for animal cruelty. I didn't know that was a thing people still got sentenced to.
Yeah, on one hand, the vengeful part of you thinks good. Like this guy allegedly treated other people and women and also animals really badly. Again, allegedly. Like bad guy, and you feel like, okay, that's deserved. Secondly, I didn't know we were living in biblical Egypt.
What a medieval, like,
right.
It's like you're going to go to the gallows or something. If like he does some more serious, like.
Convicted on 2 counts of misdemeanor animal cruelty charges, the judge sentenced Buggs to a year of hard labor, ordering him to serve 60 days with the rest suspended for 2 years pending the defendant's behavior. So
was this in Alabama?
Yes.
See, I thought only Louisiana still had hard labor as a punishment.
Apparently not. Apparently
Guess
Alabama
not.
does too. A couple of other NFL notes. One of our favorite college players of all time, Jake Haener, who was a star at Fresno State, currently the backup quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. He has been diagnosed with a rare form of skin cancer, does not believe it to be a life-threatening thing, but has had a procedure on his face and is due to have another one shortly. So we certainly wish Jake Haener the best in his fight against skin cancer. And oh yeah, Tua Tagovailoa is now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. 4 years, $212.4 million extension today, $53.1 million average value. It's actually third among the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Only Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, who each make $55 million a year, are paid more than Tua. $167 million guarantee. That's the 8th most among quarterbacks.
I mean, Twitter freaked out about this, obviously, because that's kind of what that website is built for. Relative to what it costs to have a starting quarterback right now, that's a pretty decent deal, isn't it? You're not tethered to him for forever. 8th most guaranteed among quarterbacks. I said earlier, I think he's right around 10th or so in the NFL.
I think he is too good not to pay, but I don't think he is good enough to win anything of substance with. And that's a really hard place to be for a team. It's the Prescott zone, the Dalton zone.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I think of Tua. I think he's good enough that you don't want to hazard a chance at being any worse at quarterback than he is. Which, I mean, no knock. You can make a really good living and have a really good career. He led the league in passing yards last year. He's not a bum. I just don't think you are winning a Super Bowl. You are not staring down Mahomes or Allen or Burrow in a game that means anything in the AFC with that guy as your quarterback. I don't believe that.
I do every year, mostly just for myself, a ranking of every quarterback in the end. I like to go 1 through 32. You know, some teams you have to guess who the starter is, but I might actually bring that to the show this year. Once we get to the part of training camp where like guys are just fighting every day and nothing new is happening, we'll bring out the quarterback ranking because I really think I probably have Tua around 10. I think it's a good deal for what you're getting. I mean, you can't not have him with how good he is, but you've got to make some legitimate changes. We've talked about this with the Dolphins a bunch. I just don't know what kind of changes they're going to make. I don't think they are going to make any, to be frank with you. All right, that's it for our regular headlines. Should we get to a real quick Olympic roundup?
We can't. I do want to update real quick. We mentioned him yesterday, the professional sports franchise of Topeka, Kansas, Gary Woodland, had a good first day at the 3M Open at the TPC Twin Cities. Today, 2 under through his first 14 holes to get to 7 under for the tournament. Right now, that is 3 shots back of the lead in a big tie for 8th place at the event, which means if you want to watch some golf this weekend at the 3M Open, you might see a lot of Gary Woodland. If he's going to be near the leaders, you might get to see a lot of him on TV. He could really use a good finish. He's 164th in the FedEx Cup standings. Top 125 make the playoff. So he really needs a good showing, and a win would certainly qualify him. So pulling for Gary this weekend. Go ahead.
Let's get to it.
Wait.
All right.
I forgot that I am the music man for this.
Yeah, we'll have to get this rearranged.
So I had closed the music. I have the music now. Trent, are you ready for the music? Let's have the music.
Round up, Olympic, round up. No, we got to record that for Monday. Yes, that's the new Olympic roundup theme. That's amazing. All right, very brief Olympic roundup for you today. The only actual sport that took place so far today was the air rifle in shooting for the men and women. Tomorrow, the first medal of the Olympics will be handed out for the 10-meter air rifle. It was the pre-event training and qualification rounds today. And then they will hand out the medals starting tomorrow for the event. The big story, though, from the Olympics today, it was the opening ceremony in Paris. The athletes were taken by boat down the Seine River, all the way through Paris in a pouring rainstorm through the heart of central France. Just downpour all day long. Made for some cool scenes, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people compared the Team USA boat to the famed painting Washington Crossing the Delaware with LeBron holding up the American flag. Very cool scene. I'm not sure I'm going to watch the entire 4-hour broadcast when it is on tonight, when it's aired on NBC television, but I'll catch part of it. I'm excited. I like the opening ceremony.
Check it out tonight. You know, the guy who's having a good time? The flag bearer for the United States, LeBron James.
Oh, yeah.
Like, remember in 2012 when the late Kobe Bryant was like everywhere at the Olympics?
Yes.
Because he knew it was going to be his last one. And he went to everything. Like, he was at the swimming, he was at the gymnastics, he turned up probably at like even the trampoline. Like, Kobe Bryant really appreciated that last Olympic experience and ended up being kind of cool to see him support other American athletes. I remember that very vividly about those 2012 games. It kind of feels like LeBron's going to be that guy this time around and go to the events and really soak it in. It's going to be his last Olympics. And it's cool to see. You know, we can quibble, and I think it's a fair quibble to have about the presence of professionals in sports like basketball in the Olympics, where it's not the biggest thing you can compete for in your sport. Like, the Olympic gold medal is not the biggest thing you can win in men's basketball. It's not.
Nah.
So we can,
unless you're Carmelo Anthony.
So we can have a discussion about whether or not it should still be professionals competing at the Olympics, but it is always cool to see those professionals embrace what it is to be an Olympian. And this USA men's basketball team full of guys who are in the twilight of their professional playing careers, LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, absolutely no guarantee any of those guys are going to play in the Olympics in 2028. It will be cool to see them embrace the Olympic experience. And it might even humanize them a little bit.
If I was participating in the Olympics, I'd go to everything.
Yes.
I don't know that I'm coming back here.
Badminton, let's go.
Absolutely. Table tennis.
Greco-Roman wrestling, front row, baby.
I will be there no matter what. So more events beginning.
Give me to the judoka.
That includes USA basketball, which will be in action tomorrow.
Yes, it will. That's going to do it for our 5A Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, a French lesson from the French expert. Not that kind of French. Brendan's going to teach us some French during the Olympic Games. We just decided. That's next on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Ain't nobody dope as us. Dan, Brendan, Trenton, Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. The Olympics are underway. The flame has been lit. The flag has presumably been corrected. They flew the Olympic flag upside down at first at the opening ceremonies today. Presumably that has been corrected. And the Olympics are underway in Paris. One of us has been overseas, has been to Paris, has taken French lessons, knows a little bit of the language. So now we're going to actually use some of that knowledge that Monsieur Brendan Dworzinski has accumulated.
Yes. That is indeed correct.
It is time for our first installment. It might be the last, or we might do it the entire Olympics. It depends on how long we enjoy doing the bit.
Depends on how much news from training camp there is.
French lessons. Yes, it does. With Monsieur Zizki. I can't do it.
Certain things like that. It's like when you watch, like if you ever see, what's his name? John. Oh, what is it? The ESPN Deportes reporter who shows up.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He's got like a very not Spanish name.
No, he has a very like American English name. It's John something. You'll hear certain words or
John Sutcliffe.
John Sutcliffe, yes. Like you'll hear him talking to a player after a game, and you'll hear a bunch of words in Spanish, but then you'll hear touchdown after a Monday Night Football game. Some words or names don't really translate. Dworzinski is one of them. It would same in French as it is in American English. I think it's pronounced differently in Polish, but I'm not going to give it a try. I'll be honest with you. All right. So I want to start with some easy ones here. Some sports, some words for sports. Okay. We were talking about basketball. Team USA in action tomorrow morning, 10:15. They start. It'll re-air at 4 on USA. Do you know what the word for basket, like the sport of basketball is?
I do not.
Basket. That's it.
Basquet?
No, Basket. Looks like basket. It's just basket.
Okay, we're gonna put that on the screen.
And if you have basketball shoes, they would be des basket. DES baskets, essentially, is what it looks like. That'd be basketball shoes.
Fascinating. All right, what else you got?
All right, one other sport for you here. Soccer, or what the world knows as football. What do you think the word for that in French is?
Probably football.
Football. Yes. FOOTBALL. Or le foot. Also acceptable in the common nomenclature.
Le foot.
Sounds like a LeBron shoe ad.
French Gentlemen's Club. All right. After le foot, one word. This is one you have tried to use today. One that has been used by our pal Jeffrey in the YouTube live chat in I see what he's going for with the spelling. It's not close, but I appreciate the effort. Monsieur, Mr. in French. Monsieur is how you pronounce it. The N is silent. MONSIEUR. But it's pronounced Monsieur. Did you ever take a foreign language, Trenton?
I took a couple years of Spanish in high school.
Okay.
So we're gonna put that one up on the. We'll put that one up on the screen.
I do know because my dad has told me he works with some guys that speak Swahili at his work, so I do know some phrases from there. But
that's awesome.
Give me one more. You got one more?
Yeah. Okay. This is one for you. This is from. This is pertaining to what is wrong with you. If you wanted to say she stole money from God, you would say elle a volé l'argent de Dieu.
I'm not going to type that out, man. Run it back again.
All right. ELLE. Just the letter A. Volé. VOLE with an accent. L apostrophe. ARGENT. DE. Then capital D. IEU. Dieu is God.
Dieu, yeah, mon Dieu, my God. Yeah,
there you go.
That sounded pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. Regular old Jacques Chirac over here.
Might be something that I say if I'm watching the Olympics and there's something wild going on in the
Rudy
in
Gobert
the water,
swats a shot
in the water polo. Mon Dieu.
Elle a volé l'argent de Dieu. Voler is to steal.
Very germane to our weekly "What Is Wrong with You?"
Exactly.
Champion. Someone who literally stole money from God, the Catholic Church.
All right, one other real quick one.
One
here.
other. Let's go.
This is for some audience participation. If I was to say to you, "Where are you from?" I would say, "D'où êtes-vous?"
D'où êtes-vous?
Yes. You would respond with "Je suis de," and then wherever you're from.
Je suis de Colorado.
There you go. You're from Colorado.
Mon Dieu.
Wow. Perfect.
Hon, hon, hon.
Dan Bonaparte over here.
We're going to have some baguettes and take a quick break, come back, and preview the Cubs Royals series after this on 580 Sports Talk. Round and third, heading for home on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll have a little overtime for you. Hear from our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, who joined us earlier today on the show. Run that until about 6:30, then hand things over to the Royals Baseball Network for pregame coverage. Game 1 of 3 between the Royals and the Cubs this weekend. I think these might be the best crowds of the season. I'll just go ahead and say. I think tonight with it's the Cubs in town. The Cubs always draw.
Yep.
Because you've got that subset of folks who are Superstation Cubs fans.
Yep.
From the 80s and 90s, and I always wondered, like I get it. If you're from Chicago, obviously, as you are, and there were 2 Superstation teams. There were the Cubs and there were the Braves. And in the 80s, the Braves stunk. The Braves stunk the entire 80s, essentially. And the Cubs almost won a pennant in 84 and won another division title in 89. So I get it for a certain subset of my generation. But like for the people of the 90s, for the 90s babies out there who were Superstation baseball fans and picked the Cubs over the Braves, how do you glom onto those losers, man? Like, how was it that you picked them?
Honest answer, one of those teams wasn't on until 7 o'clock. One was on when he got home from school.
That is a fair point. One of my best friend from back in Colorado, my very best friend, grew up a Cubs fan, and he's just like, man, just leave me alone. I really like Mark Grace. It's one of those. You never know what it's going to be.
A lot of people did till he got behind the wheel of a car. I mean, a lot of people like Mark Grace.
That is the truth. The Cubs have very good starting pitching. Kyle Hendricks goes tonight for them against Brady Singer. Then a marquee matchup of all-stars on Saturday, Seth Lugo and Shota Imanaga, the Japanese rookie for the Cubbies. Cole Reagans goes for the Cubs on Sunday against Javier Assad, who's having a nice year.
The ass man.
Is that what they call him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, some of us.
I just always
I don't know that that's like the media guy.
I think of DJ Khaled and his son. Assad.
I think of the meme from several years ago. Assad.
All right. So those are the pitching matchups this weekend.
Kyle Hendricks started the year. I shared this stat with Trenton earlier. In his first 7 starts of the year, he allowed 4 or more runs 6 times and did not go more than 5 innings in any of those outings. It was very bad, to say the least. Since that point, however, he has been at least serviceable. Let's see. Going back to May 23rd until his most recent outing against Arizona, he is pitching to where is his ERA here? Baseball Reference tell me. A 4.03 ERA. I mean, he's been useful as fielding independent, right about on the same number. Opponent's hitting 236 against him. He's been fine. He's older. He never had velocity. He was always a paint the corners guy. And when he was at his peak, he was great. Not really that guy anymore, unfortunately. Imanaga's awesome. Fly ball pitcher. So if you're hoping for a windy day this weekend, you want it to be tomorrow if you are the Royals, because he is prone to giving up the long ball. And then Assad is fine. He's whatever. We were talking about this earlier today, Trenton and I as well. When Trenton said he would not be surprised if the Cubs swept this series. For what it is worth, I would be extremely surprised if the Cubs swept this series.
Can I at least give my reason?
Yeah, please do. It's important context.
Okay. Royals have really struggled against soft tossers, and Kyle Hendricks ain't going to throw up harder than maybe 85 miles per hour tonight.
Right.
They put out the worst lineups against left-hand pitching, and Shota Imanaga is just really good.
All right.
And then Sunday, the Royals don't give Cole Reagans any run support, so they better hope it's a low-scoring game or they explode like they did on Monday.
So we went and did some research. Surprisingly hard to find this stat, by the way, but we did find it from Baseball Reference. There are 122 qualified starting pitchers this year. Cole Reagans is 90th in terms of run support per game at 4 runs flat. Again, 90th in Major League Baseball in run support per game. For what it's worth, Garrett Crochet of the White Sox, dead last, 2.5 runs a game. That is
no way. Funny. A Red Sox dead last?
White Sox. Worse.
White Sox? Yeah.
Even worse. So that's what you're talking about on Sunday. I could make an argument for a number of reasons why the Cubs could win these games. I mean, Hendricks has had a couple against the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. He threw 7 scoreless innings with just 5 scattered hits. He was great against them. So, okay, Royals struggle against soft tossers. Sure. Imanaga's really good. That's just ace versus ace on Saturday. Anything could happen there. And then, Reagan's hasn't gotten a lot of support. That being said, the Cubs offense is terrible. It is really, really bad. For comparison's sake, Kyle Hendricks, who goes tonight for the Cubs, 100th in run support this year.
Jeez. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
When it comes to run support. Those are the pitching matchups again. Singer Hendricks tonight, Lugo Imanaga Saturday. That's box office. And then Sunday, Reagan's and Assad. The other games of interest this weekend, if you're scoreboard watching, Minnesota got back-to-back home runs to start their game today. They lead the Tigers 2-0 after one. Cleveland's out to a 1-0 lead over Philadelphia as they play in Philadelphia this weekend. Boston's at home for 3 against the Yankees. So those are the 3 teams most interesting right now to the Royals as it pertains to the American League standings. Houston's 2.5 back of their wild card spot. They've got Los Angeles, the Dodgers, at home for 3. Seattle is at the White Sox and could make up some ground this weekend.
The Royals are only 3.5 games back of the Yankees for the first wild card spot. So if they win either way, that Yankees-Red Sox series is helping them one way or another.
This is true. Yeah, somebody's got to lose those games, and it could be helpful one way or another. Royals need the series win to get to that 6-3 mark that we talked about being just about a necessity for them to come out of this homestand and get 6 wins out of 9 to really jumpstart the second half of their campaign. Trenton's not optimistic. Brendan, you feel like the Cubs are going to roll over here this weekend? They have announced publicly that they intend to sell at the deadline. That can be bad for morale.
It can be. Although maybe some guys want to get out.
That's true.
I think the Royals take 2 out of 3.
I'm going to go there too. I think they get 2 out of 3. I do. I think they get that 6-win mark on this homestand. Game 1 again tonight, 7:10 first pitch. We'll take one final break. Come back with a final word after this. Time for the final word of the week here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Brendan Dworzynski, you lead it off.
All right, I got 2 quick ones here for you. One, it's usually really fun for me when the Cubs come to town. I guess it's going to happen a lot more often now that the schedule has been balanced.
Every other year, in fact.
Yeah, in fact. I don't feel good about this weekend as a Cubs fan. Good for the Royals. I think it'll be a serious win. And the big difference, honestly, talking about the pitching matchups and everything, one team has maybe the best player in Major League Baseball. The other does not. And that plays a big role in a series like this. I do expect the Royals to win the series. Also, I'm just so pumped for the Olympics to be starting this week, in full, in earnest this weekend. It's one of my favorite sporting events, and despite all the problematic parts of it, I love when they finally roll around every 4 years, and I'm going to watch so much Olympic sports action this weekend. My eyes are going to bleed.
Final word for me. We are so desperate for football content, and we are even more desperate this time of year, I should say. We are even more desperate for spice in an old AFC West rivalry that hasn't been much of one, that a lot got made the last 24 hours about that Raiders player, and I don't even know which one it was, to be honest with you, having a little fun with a Patrick Mahomes Kermit the Frog doll at Raiders camp. Some fan brought it along. Player grabbed it. Apparently, Antonio Pierce, the Raiders coach, wasn't real thrilled about it. Clearly, Patrick Mahomes, you heard him speak earlier today in St. Joe, and we played it for you here on the show. Clearly, he was less than impressed, saying that'll be handled when we need to handle it. Again, I just don't know how much spice that adds to something that's not really felt like a rivalry in recent years. Mahomes is 10-2 all time against the Raiders. And even with a loss in the most recent meeting, nobody believes that's the start of a new trend. The Raiders have poked the bear. They will suffer the consequences. Both games against the Raiders, I expect to get pretty ugly this year. That's going to do it for 580 Sports Talk today. And for the week, we got some overtime until 6:30, leading you up to Royals baseball. Until then, for Trenton and Brendan, I'm Dan. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you on Monday from 2 to 6 on 580 Sports Talk.